War.
I'm so upset. Oh my God.
Welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk, Uygur, Anna Kasparian with you guys. Oh my God, is Israel losing this war? A panic in Israel has broken out. We're going to tell you about it. There's apparently a rift in the government, and Donald Trump is talking about leaving early. There's giant news in today's show.
The war must go on.
Yeah, turn of events.
The war must go on.
Well,
oh, are you running out of interceptors? Is that what's happening?
So did you start a war and didn't think it through? Okay, so we've got a lot of updates on that. We got updates on oil and how it's affecting prices here at home. Just a world of material literally to get to, including some new devastating strikes inside Iran.
Remember, all right. This is a war against civilization and barbarism.
Yeah.
So anyway, should we get started with the first story?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
We took a little excursion because we felt we had to do that to get rid of some evil. And I think you'll see it's going to be a short-term excursion. How good is our military, right? Amazing. How good. Short-term. We've already won in many ways, but we haven't won enough. We go forward more determined than ever to achieve ultimate victory.
President Donald Trump seems to be signaling that we're looking for an exit from this disastrous war that's playing out in the Middle East against Iran, of course. It looks like Israel is badly hurt, even though there are censors basically preventing reporting on casualties and things like that. But Cenk, maybe I'm getting this wrong. Your 2 cents.
Oh no, you're not getting it wrong at all. So when Donald Trump started saying this in the middle of the day, that's not the only time he said it. We got more for you. I was like, wow, I wrote on social media, look, if he doesn't do ground troops, I'll give him some credit. Like he doesn't deserve any credit for a war he started, but at least we're not getting further into the morass, which is really, really important, right? And most importantly, like, wow, he's gonna defy Israel. And then we found out later in the day, no, he's not defying Israel. Israel is in a panic about losing this war. And so they're now considering withdrawing. I think it's called FAFO.
I believe so.
Okay,
yeah, that is what the kids call it.
Yeah, so there's 2 awesome developments here. Potentially no ground troops and the war not going as well as the people who started it thought that it would.
So let's get to the details here, because earlier today, President Trump said the following during an interview with CBS News, quote, "I think the war is very complete, pretty much. They have no Navy, no communications, they've got no Air Force." Well, it's a funny thing to say considering the fact Tel Aviv is being pounded as we speak. So really, is that really what's happening here? He continues, Trump added that the US is very far ahead of its initial 4 to 5 week estimated time frame. And believe it or not, it seems as though the Israelis, or at least some in the higher levels of the Israeli government, would like this war to come to an end. Now, before I read you their statements, let me just remind you all that the United States went into this disastrous war with 25% of its missile interceptors depleted. So Iran knew that. And so Iran has been taking some pretty devastating strikes in Tehran, which we're gonna talk about later in the show today. But I think their war strategy has been from the very beginning, short-term pain. Once they run out of the interceptors, then we cause the damage.
Yeah, and that's what it looks like is happening now. In fact, there was reports that Iran was using decoys to get Israel and America to waste our $4 million interceptors.
And it worked.
Yeah, yep. and they apparently have 100,000 drones stocked up. They only cost $35,000. Knocking them down cost millions. So they had a long-term strategy of basically depleting us and then forcing America into a decision. And so what we thought was gonna happen first was America was gonna start to run low on defensive missiles and think, what am I gonna do with these ships? All these drones are coming. We can't expose our aircraft carriers, et cetera, without enough interceptor missiles. We gotta get out of there. But now it turns out before we even come to that conclusion, the Israelis are coming to the conclusion, oh no, we're running out of missiles, and our civilians, of course, are the most precious people on earth.
The war must go on.
Right, so.
This is a really important war. They've been wanting it for many decades.
Yeah, but
it must go on.
Yeah, but so I'll say this, of course, they don't mind killing Iranians and Lebanese and Palestinians to no end, those lives don't count. But precious Israeli lives are now on the line for a war they started. And they're like, wait, we get to murder everyone and no one's allowed to strike us back. Yeah, sometimes things go wrong in a war. Very happy that you're finding that out because otherwise you're gonna start 100 new wars, right? They had to get to a point where they start to lose so that we could end their offensive wars that go on time and time again. What I wanted to say though is about Trump's comment, great, I'll take it, man. What, you wanna lie about how you're winning and you won and you won the greatest victory in human history and you're leaving? Great. As long as you leave and you don't do ground troops, and then Israel and Iran can deal with it however they like, okay? But our business is concluded. Donald Trump is right. We've destroyed their Navy, their Air Force, their nuclear facilities, and every top leader they had in their regime. Let's pack up and go home. Israel and Iran, up to you guys. You do whatever the hell you like.
So what are the Israeli officials telling the Washington Post? Well, in their latest report, the Washington Post says that a few senior officials in Israel are starting to voice concern about the escalating open-ended attack on Iran and suggesting possible exit ramps that might halt the war before it further damages the region, they mean Israel, and the global economy. And by the way, the global economy has been hurt already. I'm sure many of you have noticed at the gas pump. But nonetheless, in an telephone conversation on Sunday, a senior Israeli official familiar with the planning and strategy for the Iran war discussed alternatives to Trump's call for unconditional surrender. The official requested anonymity because of the sensitivity of the Iran situation. And this is one of the rare instances where I think the anonymity is necessary because of the fact that even when it comes to the damage Iran has done to Israel, that type of information is being censored from the media. In fact, there are consequences for anyone who dare report on the number of casualties on the Israeli side. Now, with that in mind, the Israeli official also told the Washington Post, quote, "I'm not sure it's in our interest to fight until the regime is toppled. Nobody wants a never-ending story." Okay, they definitely want the regime to be toppled. It's just that they underestimated how challenging that would be. And as a result, Israel, at least some of the officials in the Israeli government are looking for an exit ramp before more people get killed and more damage is done to the Israelis. This individual continues to say, we don't see anyone who can replace the regime. So the anonymous official had two big concerns. Number one, that Israel gets stuck in an endless war with Lebanon as this war is, as this war with Iran drags out. And this person hilariously is also concerned that if this war with Iran continues, it could permanently damage American support for the state of Israel. That damage is done. Now, our government, that's a different story, right? They're either paid or blackmailed. But when it comes to the American people, poll after poll now shows it's over, Israel. You've lost our support for good reason. You keep dragging our soldiers into war. We are in debt because of you. Israel has destroyed this country, and I think more and more Americans have woken up to that.
Yeah, there's two more things here. Number one, they're comical reasons that they're giving for wanting to end the war. I mean, this is rich, okay? So one of the ones they gave was, Well, we're worried about the damage it's doing to our neighbors, like the Gulf countries.
Oh yeah, you're super worried about the Gulf countries that you've done false flag bombings of to make it look like Iran bombed them.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So those Gulf countries are livid, not with Iran, but with Israel, because they thought making an alliance with Israel would protect them.
With the United States would protect them.
Yeah, well, UAE also with Israel in a big, big way. Now they're realizing, oh, it turns out Israel does not have our best interests in mind.
Yeah, they're snakes.
Oh, you didn't see that coming, United Arab Emirates?
So enjoy it, UAE. Enjoy it. Enjoy
Okay,
it. Yeah.
So anyways, does Israel care about UAE? Of course not. It doesn't care about the Gulf region. I'm gonna get to the funniest one in a second. But them giving up on regime change is not a small news item, guys. So again, the government in Israel is a little bit split between the Netanyahu lunatics and the folks who are like, hey, we already got a lot of land. We already got a lot of our mission here. We stole half of Gaza. Let's get out of here before we endanger the money from America. And remember, we own their politicians and we own their media, but the people are angry, right? But if we just get out now, we'll be able to tell the media and the government, okay, shut everyone up again and pretend we're the good guys who chose to leave voluntarily, and partly because we care so much about America. So that leads to this hilarious quote from that same Ignatius article in the Washington Post. The Israeli official said, quote, "We won't drag the US into an endless war."
Right.
Quote, "Israel is a reliable ally, not a burden."
Right, no, Israel has been nothing but a burden. We have gotten nothing out of Israel. Israel has taken hundreds of billions of dollars from American taxpayers, driven us to debt, dragged us into endless wars in the Middle East. And we're in a world of trouble as a result of Israel. Israel is not an ally. Israel should be seen as an enemy by the United States government. But again, going back to the point I made earlier, they're all bought or blackmailed by the Israeli government. With that in mind, I want to just quickly go to some of the messaging that's coming out of Iranian officials in regard to the possibility of a ceasefire. They're not buying it. So in one post on X, they write that Trump is seeking through intermediaries to connect with us and Washington to end the war, but at the same time, he claims the opposite. Trump states in interviews with American media that there is no specific timeline for ending the war, which contradicts the messages he is sending to us. The American contradiction reflects a state of chaos and deep crisis that Trump is going through, where he has found himself in a major predicament without processing a clear path out of this quagmire. Tehran has firmly informed the intermediaries that it is not receiving any message from the American side and will not respond to it. In other words, we're not interested in negotiating for a ceasefire. So I want to go to the last paragraph here where they write that Iran has a firm and resolute stance with a strategic objective, something that the United States does not have, by the way, which is not to respond to any initiative until the Zionist entity retreats and completely collapses after all the crimes it has committed in the region and the chaos it has caused in the world. Now, on top of that, Amal Saad, who's a lecturer at Cardiff University, spoke to DropSite and said that Iran will not accept any ceasefire at this stage because what it is pursuing is not a mere end to hostilities, which can and will be easily broken by Israel and the United States, but a deterrence restoring outcome that creates the conditions for a lasting and enforceable settlement. So this is about preventing the same hostilities from happening again and again. Iran doesn't want to find itself in the same position 6 months from now. In other words, they know quite well that the US and Israel, if they're looking for a ceasefire, want like a pause in the fighting so they can probably replenish their military capabilities and go right back at it. Iran would be dumb to accept a ceasefire like that.
Okay, so first on the ceasefire, Iran can easily say to them, oh, we'd love to send our negotiators, but Israel already murdered them. So I guess we can't get to a peace deal because you killed the people who were interested in peace, Iran, and they did that in the first attack against Iran in June. So, and Israel consistently murders peace negotiators. And now all of a sudden when they're begging for peace, oh look, we can't find any negotiators. But more importantly, guys, in the 12-day war, Iran now realizes that it made a mistake. It should not have agreed to a ceasefire. This is based on quotes that we shared with you guys earlier. And so they realized, oh, they're running low on interceptors. And now we told you we already had spent 25% of our interceptors already before this particular war began. That's because during the 12-day war, we used them all to defend Israel. So of course, American defense is not that important. So we just spend all of our money and resources protecting Israel. But Israel started to worry because they were starting to run low too. And that's why they were okay with a ceasefire at 12 days. And Iran now thinks that was a mistake because every time we do a ceasefire, Israel never listens to it, whether it's Iran or Lebanon or the Palestinians. Israel has violated every ceasefire. For example, with the Hezbollah, they have violated that ceasefire over 1,000 times, over 1,000. So they think, you know what, better to deplete their defenses completely and to keep going because the ceasefires don't mean anything other than Israel reloading and then counterattacking again and again and again. So we're not gonna fall for that. So now when you turn to why Israel's in a panic, well, they're in such a panic that Donald Trump said, we demand unilateral surrender from the Iranians. And the Israelis are like, Donald, the drones are starting to land their bombs in Tel Aviv. Ixnay on the unilateral surrender, okay? So let's walk that one back because they're now worried, oh my God, only others are supposed to get hurt, but now we're getting hurt. So the fact that they're telling Donald Trump to warmonger less is extraordinary and unprecedented, okay? So that means they're really hurt. So now let's talk about the drones. So why is half the army and apparently intelligence and officials in Israel is starting to get away from Netanyahu's ideas and propose a second alternative? Because Netanyahu had the army ready to go for a ground invasion in southern Lebanon. That was part of what they were supposed to do while pretending to do self-defense in the middle of this war, right? Oh, perfect opportunity. Let's go occupy southern Lebanon. Now, in the 1980s, when they tried that turned into a disaster. So the Israelis are a little skittish about that because that was a rare time where they also lost a significant number of their guys, and they have no tolerance for that. They have tremendous tolerance for murdering all their neighbors, but for them, it's like almost no tolerance for casualties. And the drones that Hezbollah is using, whatever is left of Hezbollah, is now constantly getting past the interceptors and actually doing damage inside Israel. So half the military is now like, whoa, maybe we reel this back, collect our gains. We stole a lot of land in Gaza. We've got some in Lebanon and Syria. Let's consolidate our gains, right? And so honestly, that is a smarter strategy. But Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, et cetera, are insatiable and they can't stop. But so finally, we get to that line that I had read you guys before where they're like, well, we don't want to drag America into endless wars. We're such a good ally. We don't want to be a burden, right?
Such a joke.
So the reason why they're doing that is because it is an infinitely better talking point than, well, we effed around and we found out and now we'd like to run for our lives, right? So they want to if they have decided, and they haven't yet decided, there's an internal battle within Israel. If they decide to run for their lives, they're not gonna say that. They're not gonna say they lost the war. They're not gonna say any of that stuff. Instead, they will try to frame it as, we're doing you guys a favor.
Yeah.
We're such generous people, the Israelis. And after we've dragged you into endless wars, now that we're losing a little bit, you know what? We're gonna spare America any more losses. We're such a good ally.
Right.
And by the way, every politician and everyone in national media will repeat that garbage as if it's true from here. Anna and I will be debating that on Piers Morgan for the whole next year. Every one of their forces, including everyone in mainstream media, will come out and go, Israel's the best ally. They didn't want America to take any more losses. No, okay, look, America should leave. And then, like I said earlier, Israel and Iran, you guys keep going as long as you like, but we got no interest in this war. We've already destroyed whatever we need to destroy. Let's get out of there right now. It's got nothing to do with us.
Yeah, the US should definitely get out of it. What Iran decides with Israel, that's on them. Anyway, we gotta take a break. When we come back, we've got other updates from the war, including some of the reasons why Iran might not want to sign a ceasefire deal with Israel, considering what they did over this past weekend. We'll be right back.
First comes strength, then comes peace.
All right, back on TOT. Guys, we've got a 2-minute breaks instead of 4-minute breaks. I'll talk more about it in a second, but let me squeeze in some comments here. Moonshine Dragon said, there were 2 stories Saturday about Iran bombing a US base in UAE and killing 5,000 American troops. No way. Yet Sunday and today there is no mention. I wish MSM would not hide the truth. And is there any truth to those articles?
Well,
no.
we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, 5,000 troops is crazy talk. Like
500. He said 5,000 or 500?
Yeah, he has 5,000.
Oh.
Okay, but we'll see. We'll see. So there's just.
They're definitely hiding the number of US casualties. Like,
but Trump wouldn't be going around going la 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 if we lost 500 guys or anything along those lines.
What do you mean? He doesn't give a damn about the loss
because of appearances, not because he cares. Anyways, we'll check in on that. EMET2 says, not wishing anyone to be killed, but I hope Iran keeps bombing the crap out of Israel. Even if Israel wants to call a truce, they need to get a taste of their own medicine because they're still bombing Lebanon. So look, guys, I don't want any civilian casualties on any side. But a country that starts a war, if they pay a price, they are less likely to start the next one. And Israel has shown an appetite for infinite wars as long as they don't pay a price. So, there's a silver lining there, let's put it that way, at a minimum. Mongoose Dragon says, did those folks who are part of mainstream corporate-owned media go to a different kind of journalism school? Yeah, they went to the one that said, kiss the ass of the powerful and do not write things that are true. BS 1954 said, Anna's looking good, but it was a little early for a summer dress, just saying. Not in LA, it was in the 80s.
Oh God, the weather's been amazing.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. Also, DD Jameson and Box, thank you for gifting memberships on YouTube. With a Gallon Melody loves music. Thank you for gifting 5 memberships on YouTube. You guys are wonderful. And then Lady AF gifted 10. Okay, beautiful community here. So a couple of more announcements. We've now gone down to 2-minute breaks in our live shows instead of 4-minute breaks. So we're gonna come back quicker from the breaks for you guys. If you wanna hear us reading your comments during the breaks, so people who are watching on the members only live stream on tyt.com get to see all of that, including your comments from Super Chat and YouTube members, etc. If you're a YouTube member, don't worry, you don't have to pay anything more. Just go to tyt.com/connect. Connect your accounts, you're gonna watch on the member stream, and that way you'll get to hear what we're saying during the breaks as well, okay? And then tonight, by the way, at 8 o'clock, we have a candidate debate/forum. Kat Abughazaleh and others running in that really important race in Illinois. 3 of them are gonna be on the show, so make sure you stick around at 8 o'clock. And then finally, just wanted to let you know about Shopify. So that's the folks we use for shoptyt.com. They're terrific. Look, guys, we've used them forever and they keep getting better and better. So if you're starting up a new project and you need to set up a shop, I think it's a no-brainer. And right now, if you sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/tyt, that's a great offer, $1 per month. So that's shopify.com/tyt. All right, Anna, what's next?
All right, let's get right to our next story. Israeli military struck several of Iran's oil sites on Saturday, which led to balls of fire, toxic smoke, and acid rain in Tehran and its neighboring city of Karaj. Now, Tehran is a city of 10 million lives. And now those lives are in jeopardy as this acid rain falls on them. Cenk, does this look like liberation to you?
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about the damage that it not only did to Tehran. I mean, that dark cloud is so symbolic of what Israel has done to the Middle East and the world. But we're also gonna talk about the economic damage that it has done here at home, which is a double whammy. And so, but finally, of course, what Anna's referring to. And so keep that in mind as we're telling you the whole story. This is from the people who claimed, oh, we're doing this because we want to help the Iranian people out of the goodness of our hearts.
Yeah, the Persian diaspora that's comfortably living in Beverly Hills, California, calling for this. I just want to be very clear, despite their threats against me, you're among the worst people on the planet. Okay, as you live in your mansions in Beverly Hills, California, and sit there and enjoy the Iranian people dealing with this terror that you called for, that you cheerled for. You're among the worst people on the planet. But anyway, let me continue. So Tehran's main oil refinery is next to one of the storage facilities, oil storage facilities in the city's southern Sahar Ray district, which was attacked, and that's according to state media. Also, the Saharan oil depot in northwestern Tehran, which Israel targeted last June, was struck yet again. And these attacks came after Israel struck Iran's busiest airport in Mehrabad. Now, Netanyahu on Saturday said that the US-Israeli bombing campaign in Iran would continue unabated, and that the moment of truth was nearing for Iranians to overthrow their government. He advocated the overthrow of the regime, as Israeli TV reported that Israel was optimistic about such an outcome. I think that they're bluffing because I don't see where the optimism would come from. There's absolutely no sign of any type of civil war, any type of battle within the Iranian population or community. And it seems like the IRCG was really prepared for a day like today. Now, Netanyahu also said that Israel has an organized plan with many surprises for the next phases of the war with Iran to destabilize the regime to enable change. Now, unclear what his big surprise is. One thing that I do know is that there have been some rumors that the Israelis have considered using tactical nukes against Iran. So when we have a conversation about irrational foreign actors who have nuclear capabilities, I think Israel should be at the top of that list. Now, Iran's Ministry of Oil said in a statement that multiple oil storage depots in the provinces of Tehran and Al-Borz has been targeted. Israel has actually taken responsibility for this. They're not trying to hide it at all. They claim that the oil storage depots were bombed because they were supposedly being used by Iran's armed forces. So it's just, a repeat of what we saw in Gaza. We're bombing everything because of Hamas, and in this case, we're bombing everything, including oil infrastructure, which is devastating to the global oil markets because of the military in Iran. Amir, a businessman who had taken his wife and 2 children to the countryside from Tehran for safety, says that it's getting to the point where we feel no place is safe, and even the roads leading in and out of the city are dangerous because targets around them are attacked. Wow, sounds like liberation to me. Shireen, a 36-year-old dentist, told the New York Times that she and her family decided to remain in Tehran, but they are very scared. In fact, she says, quote, "I want the war to end immediately." I'm surprised that the New York Times printed that, but let me continue. The New York Times also laughably claimed that the US and Israel's attacks on Iran's oil facilities is unusual, super unusual, given how careful they've been when it comes to bombing certain, facilities and civilian sites. This is an actual excerpt from their piece. Until this weekend, the US-Israeli bombing campaign had been largely focused on ravaging Iran's leadership and security services and police stations, while also trying to eliminate its ability to produce and launch missiles and prevent Tehran from being able to produce nuclear weapons. Now, they forget that their own publication just confirmed that the United States was responsible for bombing that elementary school, killing 175 people, most of whom were little girls. Furthermore, let's take a look at this headline. This is from the BBC, something we reported on last week. Iranian schools, hospital, and landmarks among civilian sites hit during US-Israeli strikes. 10 hospitals have been struck by US and Israeli strikes. So the idea that these types of structures are not being targeted is laughable, to say the least. Later in the piece, though, the New York Times admits that Iranian media and residents have reported widespread destruction to residential homes, shops, roads, water pipes, and several hospitals and schools located near target sites. Now, Barak Ravid, a former member of Israeli intelligence and the IDF, published his usual slop to make us think that the US is dismayed that the Israelis had targeted Iranian oil depots. Trump is, Netanyahu's bitch, if you ask me. So I don't believe he's dismayed at all. He will do as he's told. Plus, both the United States and Israel confirmed that the US was notified that the strikes were gonna take place before they took place. So I don't believe for a second that Trump is dismayed about anything. Trump will do as he's told by the Israelis. But a US official said that the US military was surprised by how wide-ranging they were, meaning the Israeli strikes on Iran's oil infrastructure. We don't think it was a good idea, senior US official said. An Israeli official said the US message to Israel was WTF. So you get the point. Now, striking Iran's fuel infrastructure absolutely does backfire. In fact, you see Iranians rallying to support the regime. Usually when foreign actors come in and attack your country, that tends to happen. And in fact, here's a video of a massive crowd of Iranians who gathered to celebrate the country's new Ayatollah, new leader, Mojtaba Khamenei. Take a look. Good job, America. Cenk, back to you.
Yeah. So first, I want to note a couple things that Anna mentioned. So there's this like shock and chagrin that Israel is not listening to us. We told them not to bomb the oil facilities, but they bombed them anyway. Of course. Why are you shocked by that? Israel never listens to us, and Israel always lies. But every time New York Times and all of them are like, oh, wow, what a shocking development. Our beloved Israel, for the first time ever, has done something slightly wrong. Come on, man. And then Bill Maher this weekend complaining about, the New York Times is so against Israel.
Right.
You know why? Because he's like, oh my God. Like normally, he doesn't say this, of course, but it's between the lines. They just print exactly what the Israelis have asked for in propaganda, but one or two lines don't match up this time. I have both scripts. Why aren't they doing 200% Israeli propaganda? Okay, so speaking of propaganda, look at how they wrote it, right? And the quotes that Anna read to you earlier. When it's us or Israel saying something, New York Times used this language. The US-Israeli bombing campaign had been largely focused on, et cetera, et cetera. So they don't say, could have been, US says, Israel says. They say, that is what it was, okay? When they go to reports of that not being true, and in fact, bombing schools, hospitals, etc., they instead use the language of Iranian media and residents have reported, right? Like, I mean, the Iranians have reported. Well, it's your job to confirm either way, isn't it? And so instead of confirming, they write it as if the Israelis and the Americans are definitely telling the truth, and these Iranians say that they were just murdered, whatever, right? And that's why Maher's upset. Don't say that. Don't even report what the Iranians say. They're subhuman. They're not Israelis, right? So that's what they get animated by. So I wanted to read a couple of members' quotes because they're going to relate to what I'm going to say next. Okay, so Eddie Jameson is a member on YouTube. You could hit the join button below, become part of the show this way. And he said, I'm struggling with going about my everyday life with my tax dollars are being used to bomb critical infrastructure and shower millions of people in oil contaminated rain, making land uninhabitable. So that goes to the point that Anna made there, and I want to double down on. And you saw that giant crowd, right, in the square. And so we were told by the liars, not just in Israel first, not just by our disgusting politicians who serve the donor class, but also by the great majority of our media. Israel says this is for the Iranian people. And you know what? We're gonna be greeted as liberators. The minute we attack, just like in Iraq, the Iranian people are cheering. You remember all those stories? Oh my God, they're so happy the Ayatollah is dead. In fact, Bill Maher, his chief actual literal example that he used was, I have read that 90% of Iranians were thrilled that Ayatollah was killed, but that's not what the New York Times is reporting. Can you believe how wrong they are? Bill, does that look like 90% were celebrating that the Ayatollah got killed? No, you moron. When you drop bombs on people's heads, They do not root for you. They rally around the flag. You'd have to have like, I don't even want to besmirch children by saying a childlike innocence, because there is no innocence there. He's lying all the time to help Israel, right? So no, they didn't rally around America and Israel because we started killing their children. I mean, we have to explain this to the simpletons that I have to get through so many debates where I have to argue, no, Israel's not doing this for the benefit of the Iranian people. Now, is Piers Morgan and everyone that we've ever been on these shows, are they gonna go, obviously the Israelis were lying, because look at how much damage they did to Iran, Tehran, their civilians. They did it on purpose. They did it to poison them. And now everyone is waking up in Tehran the next day and everything is covered in black. Because once the rain falls, you saw CNN actually did a good job, credit where credit is due. And their reporter there was showing you the cars, the buildings all draped in black from the soot, right? So Tehran, they're waking up furious with Israel and America. They're not furious with the Shah, with the Ayatollah anymore. Okay, we ruined that. If you wanted actual regime change that was gonna lead to democracy in Iran, this was deeply counterproductive. One more member, sorry, this is a super chat. Elliot ZP said, American here, born and raised in Iran. Against this war with every fiber, but I know Iran and I'm worried about Mojtaba. He was ruthless before, he lost all his family, now gotta help Iranians. So that goes to the last point I was gonna make. So, the guy who took over, Khomeini's son now, he lost his dad, which was Khomeini, okay? He lost his mom.
His wife.
He lost his sister. He lost his wife. He lost his son. He lost a nephew, a niece, and a brother-in-law. And he got wounded in that same bombing. So he was already a hardliner. The morons in Israel and morons like Lindsey Graham and John Fetterman in both parties told us, oh, once we murder their leaders, we're gonna get leaders that will listen to Donald Trump unconditionally. We'll do everything that we order them to do. Instead, we now have a leader that is significantly worse in charge of the regime, much more brutal, much more radical, and now seething with hatred for Israel and America after we murdered most of his family. So never ever listen to warmongers, never listen to neocons, never listen to mainstream media, never listen to our scum politicians, and never ever make the mistake of believing in Israeli. This Israeli government is the biggest liars in the world, and now the regime in Iran is worse, not better. The Iranian people are furious, and we've gotten ourselves into an intractable war, all because of Israel.
All right, let's pivot to the other part of this story, because our government seems to be obsessed with embarrassing the American people, and I want to give you the latest example of that. So, further embarrassing the American people, President Donald Trump, the president of the United States of America, not of Israel, is apparently deferring to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on whether the war against Iran will end or when it'll end.
Okay. Of course.
So according to the Times of Israel, the US president was asked whether he alone would decide when the war with Iran ends or if Netanyahu would also have a say. Number one, the framing of that question tells you everything you need to know about the Israeli press and what they're trying to push for here. But nonetheless, Trump did respond to that question saying, I think it's mutual a little bit. We've been talking, I'll make a decision at the right time, but everything's going to be taken into account, he responded, indicating that while Netanyahu will have input, the US president will have the final say. I don't believe that for a second. I think the person who always has the final say in our effed up, corrupt government and system, there's no question that whatever the Israelis want, Trump is going to fulfill it, okay? That's how we got dragged into this nonsensical war to begin with. Now, the US president said that he wasn't surprised by how widespread the support for the Iran war is in Israel, joking that the only thing more popular there is his own favorables. In other words, he's bragging about how popular he is in Israel, while his approval rating here in the United States keeps falling lower and lower and lower because he promised no war. And we got dragged into a war with a foreign country, not for us, but on behalf of Israel. Asked whether Israel would continue the war against Iran even after the US decides to halt its airstrikes, Trump declined to entertain the theoretical possibility before adding, I don't think it's going to be necessary. We're always gonna have, Israel's best interests in mind, in other words. And Trump does seem concerned about the fate of a foreign country, certainly more so than he is over the fate of his own country. He says, Iran was going to destroy Israel and everything else around it. We've worked together. We've destroyed a country that wanted to destroy Israel. Well, the latest reports indicate that the US is looking for an exit strategy. There are some in the Israeli government, high-level officials, who are also looking for an exit strategy because Israel is badly hurt. But nonetheless, I do want to just kind of juxtapose how embarrassing our president is with a leader who actually has the best interests of his own people at mind. And that's the foreign minister of Iran, who was interviewed by NBC over the weekend. Let's hear what he had to say.
Will Iran agree to unconditional surrender for the sake of bringing this war to an end, Mr. Foreign Minister?
Well, this is what he asked previous time, last year in June, that when Israel started to attack us, President Trump used the same phrase, unconditional surrender. That was a tweet he made. And that didn't happen. We resisted, and after 12 days, Israelis asked for unconditional ceasefire. So we never give up, we never surrender, and we continue to resist as long as it takes. We continue to defend ourselves, and we are defending our territory, our people, and our dignity. And our dignity is not for sale.
That last line is the line that resonated with me the most. It would be great to have leaders here in the US who say to their donors, to blackmailers, my dignity is not for sale. But unfortunately, we don't live in that society.
Yeah, so not the American voters, not the American population, but American politicians, their dignity is for sale 24/7, and not just to Israel. You come along with big pharma checks, oil checks, etc. They have no dignity at all. Those are the worst people in the country. They're the ones who raised their hand and said, I have no principles or morals. I will work for bribes that you pay me, and I will betray all of my voters for you, right? So, I mean, look at Donald Trump. He admitted right there. He's like, oh, we destroyed a country that wanted to destroy Israel. Okay, so this was for Israel. That's like, please stop pretending that it was anything else. Now, I'm hearing a lot of like, well, Cenk, it could have been 98% for Israel, but 2% for something else. It could maybe there was a thing to consider about Chinese oil. No, it was 100% for Israel. And they keep saying it over and over and over again. And no matter how many times Trump says it, the Israelis say it, etc., our media comes back to, well, no, you can't ever blame Israel. No, I blame Israel for this war. Everyone on planet Earth blames Israel for this war because it is exceedingly obvious they started this war unilaterally, okay? So now, and then the question of, are you gonna consult with Netanyahu on what to do with this war? Man, imagine if we're in some war and our main ally there is another small country. Israel's a very small country, right? Is Tajikistan, right? And Trump's like, whoa, I gotta ask the leaders of the Tajiks before I do anything, because the Tajiks are so important. I mean, we'd all laugh that you would never say that, right? But when it comes to the Israelis, please, wait, I haven't checked with my boss yet. I gotta check with Netanyahu, find out if he's still got the pictures and the videos, right? So yeah, these guys run us, and that's why today, as we said in the beginning of the show, when Trump started talking about, well, the war might be over sooner than you think, I was like, is he gonna defy the Israelis? That doesn't seem possible. And we found out later in the day, no, the Israelis are panicking and telling Trump, stop talking about unilateral surrender. We got to get out of here. We're running out of defensive missiles. Oh, now you found out that a war might go both ways. Oh, so sorry to hear about that. I know that you, like a lot of people are like, no, you should be super sad about what's happening to Israel.
No, I'm not even a little bit. They wanted this, so congratulations, you got what you wanted.
So Israeli population, I would love to go back to loving you. Okay,
That's never gonna happen.
I believe in humanity, and I believe we're all the same. But what you have to do is stop voting for warmongers who constantly attack everyone around you, and you have to stop taking other people's land. God is not your servant.
They're not capable of that, Cenk. They're gonna continue doing it. So Cenk and I are a little different, okay? I would like to decouple from Israel. Decouple entirely. No more money, no more support, period.
No, I agree with that 100%.
It is a pariah state, and I have no interest in helping Israel or the Israelis. It's that simple. They've already sucked the life out of our country. Anyway, we gotta take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the economic pain we're feeling globally as a result of this ridiculous war.
All right, so let's go to Super Chat. Titan of Olympus writes in, love you too. Want to let you know that what you do has an effect. My buddy from the Army days has been converted to reason by both of you independently. Send clips of you both daily and has turned away from the Trump cult. That's awesome. Thank you for letting us know that. We appreciate it. LAZP wrote back in, Anna, the monarchists not only attack you, but viciously attack any of us if we try to say a word about this madness.
Don't be afraid of them.
Yeah,
okay.
and he says their definition of democracy, right?
Yeah, they're clowns. Don't be afraid of them.
Yeah.
They're the kinds of people who like salivate over the thought of innocent civilians in Iran getting bombed to death. Okay, they're not moral people. They're bad people, and they think they're going to shut people like us up by like literally sending the most vile death threats imaginable.
Yeah, and those guys, they think they don't care about the Iranian people.
They don't.
Okay, the expats in Beverly Hills are like, I'm gonna go back and make more money. I used to make a lot of money in Iran. I want more of that money. Oh, you're killing all the Iranian Muslims? Who cares? Who cares about them? Kill them, bomb their oil facilities, put our king back in, the Shah, the dictator that Israel wants. No, no thank you. You can shove that Shah where the sun don't shine. Oh, cry me a river about your stupid dictator. Anyway, America 1776 USA says, finally found a channel full of people truly want the best for the USA.
Yes.
Feels good to be here. TYT Rainbow, TYT Rainbow. Love it, we'll be back. Back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys, more news.
We do have a story that's somewhat breaking. The confirmation of it is breaking, but it was developing last week. So let's get to it. Turns out that Abughazaleh Smotrich's son has been badly injured after an attack near Lebanon took place. So this is according to Al Jazeera, although the Times of Israel had confirmed on Friday that shrapnel did strike Abughazaleh Smotrich's son. Now we just know the extent of the injuries and they look pretty bad. So in a post on X, Smotrich said a mortar round was launched toward the soldiers on the Lebanese border on Friday. One of them is my beloved son, Benya Hebron, he wrote. So apparently the shrapnel penetrated his back and stomach and he was rushed to the hospital. Here's a quote from Smotrich. He says, by the grace of God, one of these shrapnels tore through his liver and lodged in the wall of his largest blood vessel in his stomach. If, God forbid, it had been damaged, the situation would have been much worse. So we don't have any updates on whether or not his condition has improved in any way or if he's expected to survive the injuries, but sounds like a pretty big deal. There are also all sorts of unconfirmed reports, guys, about how Netanyahu's brother has been killed. That has not been confirmed. We are keeping an eye on the story. We know that there's a lot of censorship in Israel to prevent news like that from getting out. But if it does get confirmed, of course, we're gonna report it and share it with you immediately.
Yeah, Smotrich's family has been hurt. So here's the guy who reveled in murdering 20,000 children in Gaza. So when he was doing that, there was talk of Amalek, and you kill all the men, women, and children and babies. And now his son is hurt, and all of a sudden, tears. Okay, well, maybe next time you don't push your country and our country into endless, disastrous wars. Israel thought they were above the law. And we got Iron Dome, we got America, we got this giant military, we got nukes. We can just kill, take more land, drive everybody into more wars, and there'll be no consequences for us. Well, tonight they're finding out there are consequences. So I'm sure they'll cry and cry over it. So I would like to see them shed one tear for the 20,000 dead kids in Gaza before we get to whether we should be concerned about his son.
They won't, so I won't shed any tears for them. I mean, this is what war is. So.
And that's what Israel said the whole time. Yeah. Oh, this is what war is. So what? Oh yeah. Well, you shouldn't have started it. Well, you started it with Lebanon. You started it with Iran. Yeah. You shouldn't have started it. Would be like the Israelis. Anyway. All right. Enjoy your casualties. Hey, I didn't start the war. It was your stupid idea, and so. Let me say the same thing that the Israeli anchor said that Anna quoted on Piers Morgan. Heaven forbid it was an American, so thank God it wasn't an American, it was just an Israeli.
I actually genuinely believe that. Anyway, let's get to our next story.
Now, with respect to what's happening with gas prices right now, this is a short-term disruption for the long-term gain of taking out the rogue Iranian terrorist regime.
There's going to be some short-term pain for American consumers until the Iranians are defanged, which we hope is within just a few weeks.
There's going to be some short-term pain, but I can assure you it's going to be for the benefit of the long-term gain.
This price increase is going to be temporary, and it is a small price to pay for the idea that we're going to get rid of the terrorist regime.
Well, it certainly appears as though Trump's lapdogs have received their talking points now that the economy is feeling the pain over this war against Iran, which has destroyed oil infrastructure and is going to lead to increased prices at the pump, which of course trickles down to increased prices everywhere else. So enjoy your inflation, everybody. Now, Cenk, before I continue, your 2 cents.
Yeah, so Israel's now panicking because they're worried they're going to lose the war. So the markets have fluctuated. But initially, when we saw the oil facilities being bombed, oil went through the roof. And that was going to cause significant damage to the issue of affordability here in America, and hence political damage to Trump and his party. So, and then the stock market went down. So this is not a concern about the Iranian people and what the cancer they'll get from that oil or all the damage we've done to the innocent civilians of Iran. This is all about, oh my God, it might have consequences for us. Can you believe that things go badly in a war? Yes. That's why we told you not to go into it. Give them the details.
So before I continue with the details and the data, I just want to remind you all that oil was about $70 roughly a barrel before the war began. Now it's over $100 a barrel. And I just really want to emphasize how incompetent our leaders are, because anyone, including us, by the way, could have predicted, and we did predict what would happen economically speaking if this war happened. Now that the war is happening, everything we predicted is playing out. But we'll never get credit for it, right? We'll still be put on the same, playing field as absolute clowns, like a fitness guru, like Jillian Michaels, who's still running her mouth about geopolitics, even though she has no idea what she's talking about. But nonetheless, I continue. Yesterday, President Donald Trump, gave his lapdogs their talking points, as I mentioned earlier. So he posted on social media short-term oil prices, which will drop rapidly when the destruction of the Iran nuclear threat is over, is a very small price to pay for USA and world safety and peace. Only fools would think differently, President Donald J. Trump. Well, you are a fool, okay? Getting dragged into this war, which is quickly turning into a quagmire, was disastrous. And it looks like now Trump is possibly looking for an off-ramp. Now, meanwhile, prices have spiked since the Iran war began. So US crude futures shot up 36% last week, their biggest surge since the market began in 1983. After Trump's call on Friday for Iran's unconditional surrender, prices rose more than they have on a single day since rebounding from the pandemic crash in 2020. They rose another 20% after markets opened on Sunday evening. And this morning, the American people woke up to oil prices of over $100 per barrel. Prices are rising because Iran had been threatening to attack any ship that travels through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the update to that is Iran is now signaling that they will allow all ships belonging to Europe or Arab states to go through the Strait of Hormuz without any problem. The only exception is US ships and Israeli ships, which you can understand given the fact that they were attacked by the United States and Israel. Now, about 20% of the world's oil and gas passes through the Strait of Hormuz, which is why that strait is incredibly important. And Israel has been bombing Iran's oil infrastructure, which of course is leading to an uptick in the price of oil per barrel. Since Iran has threatened to attack any ship that enters the Strait of Hormuz, the strait, Kuwait, Iraq, and the UAE had basically slowed oil production or stopped entirely. Hopefully they begin oil production now that they're getting promises and commitments from Iran that they will allow them to pass without being attacked. Now, the US has promised to ensure the safety of any ships traveling through the strait, which I think is an interesting claim to make, considering the fact that the US has been unable to defend our allies in the Gulf region. But other countries have yet to take him up on that offer, probably because they don't trust him. Trump is pretty unhappy about that, by the way. Take a look.
So I asked him, how do you get the prices down? I know how much you care about oil and gas. And he says, tell these tankers to get to it. We've wiped out most of their launchers. Here's exactly what he said. These ships should go through the Strait of Hormuz and show some guts. There's nothing to be afraid of. They have no navy. We sunk all their ships. He went on to say, he said, look, yeah, there's risk in the region. The region's volatile. There are launchers. There's just about 150 left. That's just about 20% of totals. They can't regenerate. They can't make any more. And we are in the region ready to act quickly on all these type of attacks. Now, I think they're going to get some additional naval assets in there to do some escorting. But there was a tanker that came through yesterday.
Successfully.
Successfully. No problem.
Well, look, a few ships have passed through the Strait of Hormuz since the beginning of the war, but it's too risky, which is why, the transport of oil through the strait has basically stopped, right? You'll get a few ships here and there, but not enough anywhere near what we used to get. Cenk, that's a panicky tone from Trump.
Yeah, show some courage. Just go through, even though you might die. No. The companies that are involved here are not part of the war. So they're not gonna be like, oh yeah, we'll risk not just their employees that are on the ship, the human beings that are on the ship, but all of the supplies that are on the ship. That's a ton of money. And you want us to risk that so that we could help your war effort to look better? No, we're a company. Our only job is to maximize profit. So go pound sand. Right? By the way, if I was them, I'd tell Trump, oh yeah, we'd love to go through the Strait of Hormuz. You first though. So you come on one of our ships and escort it through the Strait of Hormuz and we'll believe you that it's safe. Put Hegseth on one ship, Rubio on another, and Trump and Vance on the third and fourth ones, and we'll definitely go through the Strait of Hormuz. We'll believe you that it's perfectly safe. Oh, you don't want to do that. You want us to risk our lives. Yeah, no, I don't think so, right? And guys, so yeah, now we're backpedaling because we're losing and we're running out of defensive missiles. But what if Iran doesn't stop? And Iran goes, no, America, you're free to leave. We'll see you guys later. But no, I'm blocking the Strait of Hormuz. I got every right to do that. You launched a war against me. This is one of the places where I have leverage. And the longer the American economy is hurt, the bigger the advantage for Iran, right? So they're not gonna do us any favors. We just started killing them. We killed all of their leaders. Like, we have no right to ask for anything.
Guys, and remember, prior to this war beginning, Iran, in their negotiations with the United States, tried to sweeten the pot, sweeten the deal by saying, look, we will open up our oil to the United States. So this will be more than just a peace deal or peace agreement. We will forge new business agreements with the United States that would benefit the United States economically. The only reason why we have a bad relationship with Iran is because of our alliance with Israel. So just keep that in mind as our people suffer and our soldiers get dragged into a war that doesn't benefit the United States in any way, shape, or form.
By the way, one more thing you guys should know that the press almost never mentions. Israel now has a energy field called Leviathan, okay? And before they didn't have any oil, and so we would do great damage to ourselves by attacking all these countries that do have oil on behalf of Israel, right? And that was a problem for us. But now part of the reason they're blowing up the storage facilities that have oil in them is because Israel would like to sell oil and gas to Europe and to other places.
Yep.
And so that made me wonder too, who blew up that pipeline between Russia and Europe?
Yeah.
Because Leviathan has been in the works for a long time, and that field just opened up, and now they're like, the Israelis are like, don't worry about the Iranians or the Russians, you buy our stuff. Oh, look at that, we happen to bomb their oil.
Oh God, it's just evil country. Anyway, you reminded me of something else. So right now, Russia is helping Iran by providing them with intel. And the US knows it, everyone knows it, it's been admitted. However, at the same time, Trump kind of had no choice but to help Russia because India is hurting, needs oil. And so they're like, please let us buy oil from Russia. Trump's like, sure. So India, our ally, is buying oil from Russia as Russia provides intel to Iran. Trump is a total incompetent buffoon. Come on, guys, come on. You have to keep it real. The truth is the truth, and the truth is real bad for this administration. Anyway, we do need to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about how Trump is getting his advice from some of the worst people on the planet, including Senator Lindsey Graham, who I'm really beginning to think has been compromised by the Israelis. Maybe they have compromat on him, who knows?
I think one of his quotes might accidentally show that. I think you guys will really enjoy that.
Because he's always in a panic when it comes to defending Israel or doing Israel's bidding.
Yeah, there's some guys that are so over the top, him, Fetterman, Richie Torres, RFK Jr., that make me go,
Well, stick around, you're about to find out.
We've been on our phones too much. I feel like we just need to touch grass or something.
I told you. I mean, you know what? Let's actually do it. Let's touch the grass. Whoa. Andrew Yang? It's not racist, right? It's him.
Yes, it is I, Andrew Yang, out here giving money away as usual.
Wait, but literally?
Do you use a phone? Noble Mobile will cut your wireless bill in half every month, and you get paid even more if you log off, look up, and touch grass.
Oh, I actually have some grass if you...
I don't think that's the kind of grass.
Not that kind of grass, unfortunately.
Whoa, wait, what the...
Whoa.
I guess that kind of grass works too. All grass works.
All grass and we get cash?
Wait, did you see that, babe?
Noble Mobile, make it rain, girl, make it rain, make it. That didn't rain so good, but now it's raining good.
Corruption, injustice, the system is rigged against you. Every day we're blasted by a flurry of terrible news from every angle, which can make it challenging to stay positive and know how to fight back. The Damage Report is your solution. I'm Johnny DeRola, and my daily morning show cuts through the noise and exposes the real damage being done to our country, the world, and how we can fight back against it. Corporate greed crushing workers, we'll name names. Politicians selling you out for their corporate overlords, we've got the receipts. Climate disaster, economic collapse, the rise of fascism. No spin, no establishment talking points, just the truth that you need to survive and resist. But it's not all doom and gloom. We'd love to have you join the Dragon Squad, our community of positive-minded activists who turn the day's news into positive action. With new episodes every weekday, listen to The Damage Report to get honest news, unflinching commentary, and daring coverage you won't find anywhere else. Listen to The Damage Report on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, because understanding the damage is the first step to fixing it.
We didn't blow up diplomacy.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. And Christina Elisa Brown, thank you for gifting a membership on YouTube. At 8 o'clock Eastern tonight, we're gonna do a candidate forum. It's for the most hotly contested Illinois district. That's the one that has Kat Abughazaleh and Bushra, who's been on the show, and Mike Simmons and others. So we'll get to that at 8 o'clock. And guys, we've now switched over just 2-minute ad breaks, not the 4 minutes we used to have. And if you wanna see us reading your comments during the ad breaks and you're a YouTube member, don't worry, it's free for you, but you do have to go to tyt.com/connect to connect your 2 accounts so you could watch on the tyt.com members video, and that has us talking during the breaks and reading your comments. So tyt.com/connect, it doesn't cost you anything if you're already a YouTube member. All right, Anna.
Let's get to our next story.
They're going to lose and we're going to win. Israel and the United States, you just wait to see what comes in the next 2 weeks.
The next 2 weeks meaning what?
We're going to blow the hell out of these people. This regime is in a death row now. It is going to be on its knees. It's going to fall. And when it falls, we're going to have peace like no other time.
We're going to blow the hell out of these people, Senator Lindsey Graham says of the Iranians, which doesn't really sound like liberation to me, Cenk.
Yeah, so first we started with, we're doing it to help the Iranian people. Now we're gonna blow the hell out of them. Although to be fair, Lindsey might not mean kill them. Lindsey Graham saying we're going to blow the hell out of them.
Oh my God, Cenk.
And he talked about how people being on their knees. I don't know. The people are asking. Maybe he does want to help the Iranian people. So I know he's helped the Israelis plenty by doing that.
Don't threaten him with a good time.
All right.
Okay, all right. Now, in that same interview, Senator Graham also admitted that he worked with Israel to rope Donald Trump into this disastrous war, which is already hurting the economy and is deeply unpopular with the American people. Now, Meghan McCain was so horrified by that clip of Lindsey Graham that she wrote this on social media. I've known Lindsey Graham since I was a child. I am imploring anyone who will listen in the Trump administration to stop sending this man out as a surrogate. He is scaring people and doing damage to whatever message you're trying to sell to the American public about the Iran war. Now, Megyn Kelly was equally disturbed. Take a look.
This guy is a homicidal maniac with a bloodlust that is insatiable, but this guy should be nowhere near President Trump. He should not be allowed within 20 feet of the president's orbit, and the president should make the decision to keep this guy the hell away from him, or at least in his own mind, shut down his influence. This is not a force for good in the United States of America, Lindsey Graham.
I actually disagree. I think Lindsey Graham does something that we don't get enough of from other elected politicians and lawmakers. He tells the truth. I mean, he tells the truth when it comes to how bloodthirsty he is. He tells the truth when it comes to how this war against Iran had nothing to do with liberating the Iranian people. And in his statements, he makes it clear to me that there's something about Lindsey Graham. He seems to be compromised by the Israelis because no one is this bloodthirsty and this ridiculous on a regular basis in public. But you watch Lindsey Graham, he's ridiculous on a regular basis in public. Now, the senator made other revealing comments, Cenk, to the Wall Street Journal last week in a piece titled Lindsey Graham's Quest to Sell Trump on Striking Iran. Here are a few excerpts worth knowing about. Graham liked to play a little word association game with the president. Quote, I say Franklin Roosevelt, what do you say? The Republican senator from South Carolina asked. The correct answer, you have nothing to fear but fear itself. As he ticked through memorable presidential phrases, Graham asked Trump what his phrase would be. Trump said he didn't know. Graham recalled, keep protesting, help is on the way, Graham suggested, referring to Trump's social media post in January, urging Iranians to confront their government, which got a lot of people killed, I hear. Graham reminded Trump about ripping up Obama's Iran nuclear deal. This was Trump's moment to make history, Graham argued to the president. What's devastating about this, Cenk, is something that we've known for a long time, but most Americans are waking up to, which is the fact that Donald Trump, because of his ego and because of the fact that he likes to have his ego stroked, is easy to manipulate. And Lindsey Graham is manipulating him successfully.
Ding, ding, ding. So I have an excellent example of how they manipulate Donald Trump in a second. But first, Megyn Kelly and everybody is totally right about Lindsey Graham. Also right about Ted Cruz. Like that, they don't help the Republican cause at all. Every time they're on the screen, like people start flipping over to Independent and Democrat for every minute they're on the screen, right? So, and then in terms of Israel first, please keep putting Mark Levin, Rabbi Shmuley, and Laura Loomer out there. Okay, because it just makes Israel more and more unpopular. You're doing us a great service by having those be your main representatives in America. Keep going. All right, now, in terms of how we got pushed into this war in the first place, which is the essence of this story, unfortunately, it's so easy to manipulate Donald Trump. So first of all, with all of our politicians, we don't know to what degree it's just the money, and it's definitely the money, right? Top donor to Trump is the Israeli lobby, over $300 million. Lindsey Graham, millions of dollars from AIPAC and the Israeli lobby. Or if it's blackmail, I don't really know or care. I just care that they serve us and not a foreign government. And now looking back on it, you say, well, Lindsey Graham was always a neocon, right? But wait a minute, has Lindsey Graham ever said we should invade North Korea, which actually did develop nukes and is far more dangerous?
He might have.
No, before they developed nukes? Not that I know of. He's never been on TV going, oh my God, we're gonna attack North Korea. Every single time he's been on TV, it's attack Israel's neighbors, attack Israel's neighbors. Oh, okay, Iraq war, Iran war, same script, same weapons of mass destruction that's fake. The same, oh, we're here to help the Iranian and Iraqi people. Let's bomb the hell out of them, right? Yeah, you liar, you disgusting pig. All right, now let's talk about the beginning of the war. So New York Times actually, again, I love giving credit where credit is due, and they had a really interesting piece about how this war got started. And I learned a couple of things from it, okay? So number one, did Israel push America into war like Marco Rubio said, hey, we're gonna attack if we, et cetera? Yes, New York Times also confirms from White House officials, Israel said, we're going to attack and you'll be caught off guard and then you'll lose more American soldiers, so you better do as we're telling you.
Disgusting.
Okay.
Disgusting, deplorable government.
Yeah, now if we had strong leadership, ones that were not compromised, that's when you would grab the Israeli official by the ear and you would walk him out of the White House and you would never let another Israeli darken the doorstep of the White House. What did you say to me? You're gonna get my American soldiers killed? And you think that's threatening me? And you call yourself an ally? You'd like another couple $100 billion? No, hell no, right? But since almost all of our politicians are compromised, Donald Trump said, oh, okay, sorry, sir, I'm so sorry. We'll go right away, okay? So, but what's interesting is that in fact, Donald Trump was so interested in going right away and the Israelis slowed him down. Now, why did the Israelis slow him down? Especially in the middle of, that was in the middle of the Iranian protest, the one that Lindsey Graham just referenced. So Lindsey Graham was like, oh, we have to save those Iranians that are protesting. Netanyahu apparently called Trump and said, hey, our defenses aren't ready yet. Do you understand what the implication of that is? Let those protesters die. Even though Mossad had said they were in the streets starting it, right? And getting those guys killed, Israel said, oh, no, we might lose 1 or 2 extra people because our defenses aren't perfectly ready. So let the Iranian protesters that we're using as a gimmick and a talking point, let them all die. Wait, don't go yet. We want to get a couple more missiles ready, defensive missiles. Okay, so that's who the Israelis are. But the main trick was to set impossible standards. They said, now Donald, you're such a big, strong guy. You don't want to be a spectator to history. That was a quote that they often used, right? And so what you want to do is you can get them to get rid of all their uranium, including their stockpiles, and go down to zero enrichment. Iran has said from day one, we will never do that. You will get them to turn over all their ballistic missiles. Iran has said, no, we're not going to turn over all of our missiles. And you can get them to do a regime change and take themselves out and lose power and just put your guy in. Now, if our president wasn't a moron, he'd say, guys, those things are impossible. It looks like you're leading me into a trap where I'll be stuck. I said that we can get all these things done, but we can't get them done. So now I'm in a forever war, just like you guys wanted. Oh, but Trump not bright enough to figure that out. So they goaded him and goaded him. And by the way, what's really interesting, guys, it's not just the Israelis. The main people goading him are the Israelis plus his own advisors, who are almost all bought off by Israel. So they're whispering in his ear, yeah, Israel's right. You're so big and tough and strong, Donald. You could do all of this. They'll bend a knee to you. They'll do unilateral surrender. Go in, Donald, go in. And finally, JD Vance, the guy who's supposed to be the most reluctant for war, apparently they were considering either limited strikes to try to scare Iran one more time or go full invasion. And JD Vance convinced Trump to go full invasion.
I knew it.
Okay, he said go big and go fast and send in everything. So no, JD Vance was not anti-war. It turned out at a critical moment, he was the most pro-war. Remember, he's created in a petri dish by Peter Thiel.
Yep.
Peter Thiel is one of the founders of Palantir, deeply connected to Israel and the surveillance and police state that we saw in Gaza and are now seeing at home.
Deeply connected to profiting off of war, okay?
Bingo.
The guy who created JD Vance and funded him in a petri dish is the guy who profits off of war. Anyone who tries to lie to you about what JD Vance's actual agenda is, make sure you follow the money. You don't even have to trust us, just follow the money. Because money talks in this country, believe me. All right, I want to reset to just talk a little bit about the response to Lindsey Graham from Khalif Ahmad al-Habtoor, okay? So, over the weekend, Senator Lindsey Graham called on other countries in the Middle East to join the war against Iran. Take a look.
Are you telling us you want the United Arab Emirates and the Saudis to lash out and strike Iran right now?
I want them to get in the fight. We sell them weapons. Iran is striking their country. They have good capability. About the Strait of Hormuz, what if the regime fell? Then you never had anybody in Iran in the future that wants to close the strait. What if you had Iran with people who don't want to build a nuclear weapon to kill us all?
Our own intelligence indicates that the Iranian regime is nowhere close to falling, but nonetheless, Khalif Ahmad al-Habtoor, a billionaire from the UAE, wrote a fiery response to Senator Graham. The following was translated from Arabic by Grok, so God help us here, okay, hopefully it's correct. But here's what he said. We know full well why we are under attack, and we also know who dragged the entire region into this dangerous escalation without consulting those he calls his allies. Senator Graham, you may be a senator from the United States Senate, but anyone who hears your statements might think you're a member of the Israeli Knesset because you defend Israel's interests more than you defend the interests of the American people themselves. That is exactly right. He continues, though. We will not enter this war to serve the interests of others, nor will we sacrifice our sons in a conflict that could have been avoided through diplomacy and political solutions. It'd be great if we had, leaders in our country who thought in a similar way, but unfortunately we don't. We have policymakers and an executive branch that is fully captured by the Israeli government and will do the Israeli government's bidding. So we find ourselves in this disastrous situation on behalf of a foreign country. Cenk.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to quote one of our members on TYT.com. Huang John said, JD Vance, that's disappointing. I expected more from a Bed Bath & Beyond Peace Prize winner. I like it. Anyways, so now Lindsey Graham also tweeted this, and I think this is also telling. He said, our allies in Israel have shown amazing capability when it comes to collapsing the murderous regime in Iran. America is most appreciative, as if Israel's doing us a favor by going into this war, right? Then he continues, however, there will be a day soon that the Iranian people will be in charge of their own fate, not the murderous Ayatollah's regime. In that regard, please be cautious about what targets you select. Our goal is to liberate the Iranian people in a fashion that does not cripple their chance to start a new and better life when this regime collapses. The oil economy of Iran will be essential to that endeavor. So he's saying the Israelis bombing the oil facilities, which caused the black rain and the disaster in Tehran. He's saying, could you please watch that, because that's going to drive up oil prices here at home for us. And the Iranian people will need that later. We care so much about the Iranians. But to me, the most telling part of that whole thing was, pretty please, Israel? What do you mean, please? What does that please mean?
So embarrassing.
Okay, no.
So embarrassing.
Hey, you are not to bomb one more thing that we tell you not to bomb. And if you do, I'm gonna take away $1 billion. And the next bomb that lands that was not authorized by US, I'm gonna take away another $1 billion. And I'm gonna take a ship off your coast that's defending you with interceptor missiles. And go ahead, I dare you, defy America one more time. Drag us into another war. We're now spending $1 to $2 billion a day on behalf of Israel in this war. So tell me one more time that you're not gonna listen to what America says. I'll remove 2 ships, I'll remove all ships. I'll remove the funding for Iron Dome. Tell me again about how you're not gonna listen to us. But instead, so that wouldn't, guys, no matter where you are on the political spectrum, wouldn't that be a rational response to a country that we're supposed to be partners and allies with? We're going to this war, and we say, please don't do this, because that is a bad idea and it hurts our interest. And Israel goes, shut up, America, I'll do whatever I like. Ignore them, bomb, right? And they do. So the rational response is to have consequences for that kind of action. They are not supposed to be the boss of us. We're supposed to be the boss of them. We're the ones with the money, the military, et cetera, that they keep taking and taking and taking to no end. So no, I don't need American politicians pleading with the Israelis. Pretty please, boss, will you ever listen to us? And I know Lindsey Graham is used to being on his knees, and that's his favorite place to be. But you're embarrassing the rest of us, Lindsey. Get up and leave, clean up and go home.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
Or stay down if you want, I don't care, no kink shaming. Just leave us alone, okay? Leave the Senate and leave the American people alone instead of dragging them into nonsensical wars for whatever reason. Anyway, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the latest evidence pointing to the United States when it comes to the bombing of an elementary school that killed 175 people, many of whom little girls. We'll be right back.
If you don't like your kids that much, or if you don't like them at all, which happens on occasion, don't worry about it.
All right, let's go to TYT.com members first. Jake's Left Tricep and Fury says, short-term pain, Trump has been a pain for 10 years now. Yeah. And it goes on and on. So Pessimistic Progressive says, Jake, you probably already knew this, but the Illinois Senate candidate that didn't show, that's last week when we had a discussion about the Illinois Senate race where we had 2 of the leading candidates on. One candidate didn't show up, 1 out of the 3 major candidates. And they say they've taken tons of PAC money and 1.7 million of AIPAC funds, of course. So that's same thing's gonna happen tonight. So we're doing the candidate forum for the Illinois district that's the whole country's talking about. And the only candidate that isn't showing up is Laura Fine. Well, that's not true, there's another candidate that isn't coming. But Laura Fine has taken so much money from AIPAC. To be fair to her, we didn't invite her because the first question she'd be disqualified. She'd say, oh yeah, I'm taking millions from AIPAC and I plan to serve Israel and only Israel in Congress. So do not vote for Laura Fine. She's totally against America, yeah.
Sorry to change the subject, but this is very important. So the foreign minister in Saudi Arabia says this: if the Pakistani intelligence services had not provided us with timely information, we would not have known that the attack on the oil refinery had been carried out by Israel and not by Iran.
Damn. Holy cow.
Israel is evil, man. Evil.
We should talk about that on the show.
Yeah.
All right. So, sorry, cut off your comment there. Is more comments we probably won't have time for. We've got the shorter breaks these days, but we'll come back with that massive news.
If you don't like your kids that much, or if you don't like them at all, which happens on occasion, don't worry about it.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. As Anna read during the break there, become a member, get the breaks as well.
All right.
Huge news coming out of Saudi Arabia. We'll talk about it a little bit later once it's a little bit more developed. But stay with us here. We got a lot more stories.
Okay, for now though, let's talk a little bit about this.
Did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
In my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hegseth? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Still investigating.
But the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
Well, despite President Donald Trump's denials, mounting evidence shows that the United States was in fact responsible for slaughtering 175 people, mostly little girls, by the way, at an elementary school in Manab, Iran. In fact, it was part of the opening salvo as the war against Iran started. And Trump tried to blame it on the Iranians, saying that it was an Iranian missile. The evidence does not bear that out. And in fact, Iran hadn't even responded to the US strikes until hours afterward.
I don't know what's more compelling, Anna, the video we're about to show that proves it definitively, or Hegseth not backing up Trump immediately, right? So anyway, in the video, there's a Tomahawk missile for sure. We'll explain why that's so relevant in a second. But you notice Hegseth was like, they're not confirmed. And the Iranians are the only ones that hit innocent civilians. That's basically saying, I can't even back up that lie, because that lie is so crazy and outrageous. It's definitely us.
So the footage that Cenk is referring to was published by the New York Times. It was obtained by Bellingcat and confirmed by the Times, which is why they reported on it. And it does in fact show a Tomahawk missile, which only the United States has. Israel doesn't have it, Iran doesn't have it. Only the US has these Tomahawk missiles, and it shows the missile striking a building described as a medical clinic in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps base. Now that base is right next to the girls' school, so that was indication that that area was under attack by the United States, and then there's more evidence showing a Tomahawk missile hitting the actual girls' school. So a body of evidence assembled by the Times, including satellite imagery, social media posts, and other verified videos, indicates that the Sharjara Tayyebe elementary school building was severely damaged by a precision strike that occurred at the same time as the attacks on that naval base, okay? Again, a Tomahawk missile was used in that strike. As the camera pans to the right, large plumes of smoke, plumes of dust and smoke are already billowing from the area around the elementary school, suggesting it had been struck shortly before the strike on the naval base. This is supported by a timeline of the strikes assembled by the Times that shows the school was hit around the same time as the base. Now there is other evidence that bolsters the fact that the US carried out this strike against the school. Honestly, this is my speculation. My speculation is that the US is relying on AI in order to determine which buildings to strike. And that school, that building, used to be part of a military base. It no longer is. It hasn't been since 2016. But if they're relying on AI, did the AI rely on outdated information in order to determine that building was worthy of a strike? I don't know, but that's my speculation. Now, other evidence that the US was behind the attack includes General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who said during a press conference on Wednesday of last week that US forces were carrying out strikes in southern Iran at the same time the naval base and the school were hit, right? So he shows a map of the area, which I don't know if he did it unwittingly, but it definitely proved the US was doing strikes in that area. A map he presented showed that an area including Manab had been targeted by strikes in the first 100 hours of the operation. Now, with that in mind, Trump was confronted with the fact that a Tomahawk missile hit the school. The US is the only country that has the Tomahawk missiles. So how did he respond to that question? Let's take a look.
You just suggested that Iran somehow got its hands on a Tomahawk and bombed its own elementary school on the first day of the war. But you're the only person in your government saying this. Even your defense secretary wouldn't say that when he was asked, standing over your shoulder on your plane on Saturday. Why are you the only person saying this?
Because I just don't know enough about it. I think it's something that I was told is under investigation. But Tomahawks are used by others, as you know.
I want every single American living in this country right now to understand this is your government. Okay, the majority of those slaughtered in that airstrike were little girls in elementary school. In total, according to the New York Times, 175 people gone, slaughtered because of the US's actions. It is so disgusting and so shameful that the US did that. But what's even more disgusting and shameful is that our government got dragged into this war. Trump got dragged into this war against Iran like a little bitch on behalf of a foreign country, Israel. Israel is a liability to the United States of America. We need to decouple immediately. Go ahead, Cenk.
Yeah, that was super embarrassing when they said, why are you the only one saying that it wasn't us? He said, because I don't know what's going on. That was a stunning admission. Then why did you say that it was the Iranians if you don't know what's going on? His natural instinct is to lie at every turn, right? He just can't help himself. Whose fault was it? Not mine. Must have been Iran. And they're like, okay, no one else uses Tomahawks. He's like, and everybody uses Tomahawks. He just can't stop lying. He's incorrigible. And having a president like that, obviously it's an enormous problem. If your president can't ever tell the truth, how do you know when something is real and not real? Are we really gonna have tariffs? Are we really gonna stay in the war? Are we really not gonna put in ground troops? There's no way of knowing because the president is a pathological liar. So, okay, now I'm gonna give ironic credit here to a conservative, and that's Laura Ingraham. Now, it's a little ironic because most of the conservatives are pushing for the bombings and stuff like that, right? But I like to give credit where credit is due, even to people that I mainly criticize, okay? Did it earlier in the show for New York Times and CNN, so I'll do it for Ingraham. She's now put out several times on X. No, we have to investigate this. We can't just let it stand. Like, this isn't right, and we can't have this be normal. All right, thank you, Laura Ingraham, for the first time ever. I'll give you credit on that one. Yes, this isn't America. This isn't normal. Maybe the Israelis slaughter schools, and not maybe, they do slaughter schools and hospitals on a very regular basis. In fact, they destroyed every school and hospital in Gaza. And just because they're our theoretical ally and they dragged us into this war, we should not start acting like that. We're supposed to be the shining city on a hill. No, when America, I would hope, accidentally killed those girls, there should be a clear investigation, an apology, or whatever it takes. It doesn't mean that you can make it totally right. You can never bring those girls back and you can't make those families whole, right? But at least for us to say to our own citizens, hey, we're sorry, we gotta do better than that. We didn't mean to do that on your behalf, because that's not what America stands for.
Just absolutely devastating that we're involved in any of this to begin with. Anyway, all right, let's get to our next story.
The overwhelming majority of both House and Senate Democrats have made the case to the American people and taken the position that this is a war of choice that Donald Trump decided to get into without any evidence being presented to us as members of Congress or to the American people.
But do you agree with Golden? It's not an illegal war yet?
To protect the national security of the American people. No.
As the leader of House Democrats, do you plan to block all Pentagon funding, even if the argument is it is critical for military readiness?
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
In other words, no. Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democratic Party in the House, does not intend to block funding for an illegal war in the Middle East that the United States got dragged into on behalf of Israel. There, I decoded the story for you. Congratulations. Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, ignore everything he says before. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Oh, this war is bad, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you're not gonna pay for this disastrous war, obviously, right? Because then you'll have less war if you don't give the money for it. And you just told me it was a disastrous war. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. AIPAC, don't worry, big dog. I'm just lying here. I just lie for you guys all the time. Pretend that we're on the other side, we're for peace. But AIPAC, you're gonna get your war, you're gonna get your funding. That's why Hakeem Jeffries' nickname is AIPAC Shakur.
That's right.
And he's not alone, guys. There's a story we covered last week. Anna's gonna give you a lot more here. But tons of Senate Democrats go, oh, no, we're gonna fund the war, right?
Yeah, so it's interesting because the Democratic establishment has been giddy about the fact that Trump got dragged into this war against Iran because they knew it would be unpopular. But at the same, so it gave them a line of attack against Trump, but at the same time, the Democratic establishment wanted the war to begin with.
So it's perfect for them, Anna.
Perfect.
You're
it's
right.
Perfect.
They get to go to AIPAC and go, oh, don't worry. Yeah, we all got the war we were dreaming of. Let's see how many Americans die. Who cares though, right? Give me the check. That's the kind of scum Democratic leadership is, as well as almost every Republican who votes for this war and betrays you. Almost every Republican, okay? So, but in reality, but the Democrats also get the extra benefit of pretending they're against the war.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so before we get to how much funding Hakeem Jeffries gets from the Israel lobby, I do want to just mention that there was a vote last week on the war powers resolution, reining in Trump and ensuring that he would need to get, a green light from Congress before escalating war in Iran. Well, the House rejected Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna's war powers resolution. So it failed 212 to 219. Okay, so you're taking a look at a graphic that kind of helps you visualize how it failed. So there were 4 Democrats who voted against the resolution. Those Democrats include, let's take a look at graphic 2 here. You'll see a figure next to their names. That's the amount of money they've taken in from AIPAC. So you have Representative Juan Vargas, who's taken in nearly $1 million from AIPAC. Representative Greg Landsman, who's taken $1.7 million from AIPAC. Representative Henry Cuellar, a complete embarrassment, who's taken in more than $3.3 million from AIPAC. And then Representative Jared Golden, who's taken in almost $3.5 million from AIPAC. So these are individuals who don't even want to give Congress the ability to rein in the executive branch. They don't believe in what our founders intended for our system of government, a system of checks and balances. They're happy, ready and willing to cede their power to President Donald Trump, someone who they certainly fearmonger about during election cycles. But when it comes to questions of peace and war, life and death, Jared Golden's like, all the power to you, Trump, everything you want. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we talked about this last week. It's a rotating villains. So if the 4 Democrats had voted with their own party, the vote would have failed by 1. So that's why they needed 4 Democrats to flip over. And by the way, if they needed 8 Democrats, then 8 Democrats would have flipped over. If they needed 48 Democrats, then 48 Democrats would have flipped over. Because this is what I need Democratic voters to understand. Your politicians are not remotely on your side. They've been selling you a bag of goods, a bill of goods this entire time. Oh, we're gonna get you paid family leave and universal health care and higher minimum wage, and we're against war. Oh, look, we funded all the wars. We funded the Defense Department. We funded all the pork. Oh, we never gave you anything you wanted. Oh, it's just a coincidence. Golly gee, every time they need this exact number of votes, we wind up giving to them. And then of course, as usual, traditional corporate media didn't notice that the 4 Democratic votes on average were taking around $2 million from Israel. You can't connect those dots. That is very anti-Semitic to quote numbers, okay?
I know you're gonna repeat this point over and over again, and it's fine. You can go ahead and do that. But guys, the media is owned by Zionists. So we shouldn't be surprised by that, Cenk. We shouldn't be surprised by that.
Not all the media is owned by
It is,
Zionists.
it
A lot of it is cowed.
Anything that hasn't been owned by the Zionists, the Ellisons are looking to buy it, okay?
Yeah, so no, look, before the Ellison takeover of CBS, CNN, it was more of an informal working for Israel, right? It was like, oh, well, if you write an article about Israel, you know that the same thugs who attack us will attack that reporter and that editor.
Probably get them fired.
Right, and as Ryan Grimm said on this show when we were discussing it, because Drop Site News has already proven that Epstein worked with Israel. Doesn't mean that Israel did the blackmail plot, but Epstein was working to help Israel at every turn. So I asked Ryan, why don't they cover it? And he said, look, the main reason is everyone working in traditional media is scared to death that if they write a critical article about Israel, it's the end of their careers. So, and those thugs run Washington. So that doesn't represent the majority of Jewish people at all, okay? But there are a small group of thugs who have a ton of power that try to fire anyone who says anything critical of Israel. Plus now Larry Ellison has bought a great number of media companies with the avowed purpose of serving Israel. So now that you can't really complain about a trope when somebody's raised their hand and say, I'm doing the trope, right? So take it up with Ellison. And by the way, I haven't seen a single leader in America, Jewish leader in America, say, what are we doing here?
Yeah, of course.
Right, like this is outrageous. And it's only gonna get people to dislike us more. Will you stop doing these things? Nope. Never, ever criticize anyone on the Israel side. Only try to be vicious against anyone who tweaks Israel. So we're sick of it. We're absolutely sick of the Democrats, the Republicans, the media, and all these thugs going around enforcing censorship on all Americans who dare to oppose their favorite country that is bribing nearly all of them.
I want to know if we're ever going to experience a day in America where we're not constantly talking about the hurt feelings of individuals who don't want Israel to be, insulted in any way. I don't care about your feelings. Your feelings don't matter. Okay, your precious country that you care about so much is getting innocent people killed in the Middle East, dragged us into a war. 7 of our soldiers are dead now because of this nonsensical war against Iran. I don't care about your feelings. God, it's so unbelievably narcissistic that after the genocide committed by Israel in Gaza, after dragging us into war against Iran, after the complete destruction of oil infrastructure in the Middle East, which means we're gonna be suffering from the economic pain of all of this, you dare to come to me and talk to me about your feelings. I don't care about your feelings at all, not even a little bit. We gotta take a break, we'll be right back.
No, Kristen, we're not at war with Iran.
Wrong, sir, wrong.
All right, so by the way, Aipak Shakur is taking $5.5 million from the Israeli lobby. He is not remotely a Democrat, doesn't care about any of you. All he cares about is his donors. He's a deeply corrupt person. It's sick that he's the head of the Democrats in the House. It shows a great sickness, a toxicity, a cancer inside the Democratic Party that they think that is our leader. That deeply corrupt, the most corrupt out of all of us is the one we want leading. So yeah, Democratic caucus, you know, whatever. They're useless. Why do I even waste my time and energy with the Democrats in Congress who are just the worst people? Anyway, in Liberty and Guns We Trust, spent some time recently reading some of our founding documents. It's sad to see how far those ideals we've fallen from. Our founding fathers warned against this crap. Federal government is evil. Well, no, brother, the money in politics has captured the federal government. It wasn't evil during FDR and when we built the greatest middle class the world has ever seen. Sikandar on YouTube says, hi, I'm from India, watching you guys at 5 a.m. here. Am I crazy to watch TYT first thing in the morning? Happy to see your support for Muslims. Surprised as I was told Americans hate Muslims. Love you, Anna. No. American people do not hate Muslims. American politicians and American media are paid to hate Muslims and spread anti-Muslim propaganda, so to try to poison the well in America so that we will then attack all of Israel's neighbors for them. Israel has spread the most cancerous bigotry against Muslims my whole life, and I've never seen a single leader apologize for it, ever, and it's a fact. Back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with your mornings.
Well, we gotta catch up with what's been going down in Lebanon because it's not just a war in Iran. Israel used the opportunity to ratchet up its war against Lebanon, and it's been pretty devastating for people living in Lebanon, but it turns out it's kind of devastating for Israelis too, so let's talk about it. The Israeli Defense Forces are struggling to intercept Hezbollah's drone strikes coming out of Lebanon. So they've decided against issuing evacuation orders in Israeli towns near the border with Lebanon, which I think is pretty fascinating considering the fact that these are individuals who are now under threat since the IDF confesses, according to Haaretz, an Israeli paper, that they are having trouble intercepting Hezbollah's drone strikes.
Yeah, so that leads to two fascinating questions previously never conceived. One is, can Israel actually lose this war? And is Israel going to retreat now because for the first time they're in actual danger? I've never seen an Israeli retreat before, so this is going to be really interesting.
Now, it's really hard to get information about how Israel fares in this conflict because of the fact that there is censorship in Israel when it comes to Israeli casualties and stuff like that. But Haaretz did publish this piece and they report that the IDF is sticking with its initial decision not to order evacuations, but army officials said that its success at intercepting drones launched from Lebanon has been very partial.
No.
They added that no time limit has been set for its operation against Hezbollah in Lebanon and that a long war is likely. That's what they're claiming. Now, the military also claims that Hezbollah is a lot weaker today than it was during the 12-day war last summer. They also claim that Hezbollah's elite Radwan force is now only active in the north or north of the Litani River rather than near the Israeli border. Nonetheless, it appears that the drones being launched by these Hezbollah militants are not being intercepted, or at least not nearly enough of them are being intercepted. IDF officials also said that the joint Israeli-American attacks on Iran have severed Hezbollah from some of its sources of funding and weaponry, and that the organization is almost completely cut off from Iran. As a result, it is conducting its fight against Israel independently. That's what they're claiming. So far, Israel, by the way, has raised 50 multi-story buildings in Lebanon under this claim that those buildings belong to Hezbollah militants. But Hezbollah has done some significant damage to the Israelis as well, including claiming the lives of IDF soldiers. 2 IDF soldiers were killed by anti-tank fire in southern Lebanon. As Haaretz also reports, the troops were attempting to recover a stranded Puma armored personnel carrier in Lebanese territory opposite Kibbutz Menara, using a bulldozer when the vehicle was struck by an anti-tank missile, apparently near its fuel tank. The IDF released the name of one of the soldiers as Master Sergeant Maher Qatar, a 38-year-old from Majdal Shams. 10 Israeli soldiers were also wounded by fire from Lebanon over the weekend in 2 separate incidents. Cenk.
Yeah, so I don't want to root for anyone getting hurt. And on October 7th, some of the people they killed were very pro-Palestinian. So violence always has ironic results, and it's never a good idea. So in this case, Israel did start the war. And we know that Israel does not agree with me. Israel believes in Amalek, and their leaders have said it repeatedly. And so that if you're attacked, as they were on October 7th, they say they have a right to kill every man, woman, and child. So that has been the policy of Israel, and they have done that in Gaza. They have the worst civilian kill ratio of any terrorist group in the world. So they kill more civilians on average when they attack than Al-Qaeda and Hamas and all the other terrorist groups. That is a stunning, stunning number. And it comes from the Israeli press, the American press won't repeat it. It is a fact. But they say, well, no, that'll make Israel look bad. By the way, I thought you were pretending to be objective. Okay, so now Israel was okay to do that kind of damage to Gaza, to Lebanon, to Iran, and to all of the countries they have attacked, 7 in all, right? But now when their civilians are getting hurt, all of a sudden they realize, oh, war could be painful. Because look, does this apply to all Israelis? No, not at all. Does it apply to Jewish Americans? Almost not at all. Like, in my experience with Jewish Americans, they don't think this way at all. But are there members in Israel's government? In fact, the top 3, Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, and I would argue Netanyahu as well, and he has made reference to Amalek, that believe in Jewish supremacy, that think that only Jewish lives matter and no other lives matter at all.
I think you're being anti-Semitic by merely acknowledging that Jewish supremacists exist, Cenk.
Yeah.
How dare you?
So the settlers are obviously Jewish supremacists. And we can talk about Christian supremacists, we can talk about crazy Muslims who think that everybody should listen to Allah and kill people for it. The only ones we're not allowed to talk about is Jewish supremacists. The problem is, when they were a small minority in Israel, it was already a huge problem because of the settlers doing endless violence against the Palestinians in the West Bank and other places. But now they have captured the Israeli government. So they think, well, if we kill other people, they don't really count, right? So that is why this development is so important, because for the first time, the Israeli government thinks human beings are dying. Before they're like cattle, whatever Palestinians are, whatever Lebanese are, right? But oh my God, Israelis are dying. This is now very, very important. Real human beings are dying, okay? So that's why they're in a panic. And that part, not the actual deaths or the violence, but the panic it has caused in this disgusting terrorist fascist regime currently in charge of Israel is a good thing. Because the only way the fascists stop is if they feel the pain. Until then, they're gonna keep going and going, and more wars and more dead and more dead, and the ratios don't matter anymore. 1,000 to 1, 10,000 to 1, they don't care, because these particular, again, please don't make this assumption for Jewish Americans who almost none of them think this, okay? But yes, the extremists in charge of Israel believe that other human beings aren't really that human, right? That they're just people that are in their way and on their land.
Their actions show it.
Yeah, so now they are getting hurt. They're like, wait a minute, I didn't know we were gonna lose 1 or 2 people. Okay, maybe we should reconsider this war. Oh, thank you, finally, you get it. Yes, you should definitely reconsider this war. You should reconsider the war in Iran, the war in Lebanon, the war on Gaza, the war that you're de facto doing on the West Bank, who are all defenseless Palestinians. You should rethink all of your wars, all of your oppression, all of your land acquisition, and you should give the West Bank and Gaza to the Palestinians. And for God's sake, have a beautiful, safe Israel. That's what you were supposed to actually care about. 1967 borders, and then you have a safe and secure Israel and Palestine. And then everyone is happy and everyone is safe and no one gets hurt. But Israel will never agree to it, because they want more land, but they don't want to pay the price. Well, now they're paying the price.
All right, we've got a little bit of time left, and there was a video we didn't get to, Cenk, that I really want to do. What?
The Saudi story?
No, it isn't confirmed. So for those who are in our social break, that isn't confirmed. So I'm not going to report on that yet.
Okay, gotcha.
But when it is confirmed, I will report on it. For now, though, I want to go to that Ben Shapiro video. So let me set it up and I'll toss to it. So the New York Times reported today that the elementary school in Iran that was struck, killing 175 people, was struck by a Tomahawk missile, which only the United States has. Israel doesn't have them, Iran doesn't have them. Plus, the idea that Iran would target their own elementary school, killing little girls, is a laughable claim, to say the least. Nonetheless, Trump made that claim. But putting that aside, Ben Shapiro had some comments about it. I haven't seen this video yet, so I'm sure it'll make my blood boil. Let's take a look.
A lot of Trump's critics today are pointing out this tragic incident with an Iranian school in which 160 girls were killed. That is indeed tragic, and it's terrible. And it's also called collateral damage in war. It is unclear at this point whether the munitions were American or Iranian. We'll find out. Here is the point. Do you really believe that the Trump administration knew there were girls at a school and they decided to hit it with a Tomahawk? Do you really believe that? If you do, you hate not only Trump, but America, truly. because that is a scurrilous lie. Iran, by the way, would. If Iran had the ability to launch a cruise missile at an Israeli school filled with schoolgirls, they absolutely would hit it on purpose. They do it constantly.
I think Ben Shapiro hates America. Because
Definitely.
Ben Shapiro is happy to see American soldiers die on behalf of his precious Israel. I know he likes to use that line against his detractors or anyone who dare criticize Israel. Israel is a terror state. I think that they've proven that to the vast majority of the American people, which is why public opinion toward Israel is in the gutter where it belongs. But to claim that you would hate America for pointing your finger at the United States for dropping a freaking Tomahawk missile on a girls' school, killing 175 people. Oh, God forbid you tell the truth about what's going on. It must mean you hate America. No, the people who keep dragging our soldiers into endless wars on behalf of Israel, they're the ones who hate America. The real question here is, Cenk, if you ask me, why isn't Ben Shapiro living where he actually wants to live? Why is he here in the United States trying to manufacture consent to drag our soldiers into wars that could get them killed on behalf of a foreign country? That's the real freaking question.
Yeah, so Mark Levin, Laura Loomer,
traitors to this
Katie
country.
Miller have all said that I should be deported even though I'm a US citizen. And this was before the Iran war started, and why do they say that? They say, oh, you're a Muslim, hence evil. Well, okay, then you're a bigot. Actually, you don't understand the concept of America at all. In this country, we believe in equality and not supremacy, okay? And so these people are constantly talking about get out of our country, and they use every kind of terrible adjective about Muslim Americans, etc. And so, okay, but really, who's loyal to America and who isn't? Because they started the conversation. They're talking about deporting people, denaturalizing people. You're not really Americans. Okay, let's have a conversation about that. We fight for America and only America, and we care about American soldiers, American treasure, and right wing and left wing have different opinions about what is best for America. But we do not have different opinions on this war. 100%. No one thinks that this is good for America except Israel first. Look, so they are asking everyone and getting it from our politicians to betray this country on behalf of the country that they actually love and support, which is Israel. So you want to start talking deportations? I'd be careful if I was you. So, and then they'll catch all sorts of feelings. They'll say, what do you mean? How dare you? Are you saying dual loyalty? Are you saying trope?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm saying dual loyalty. Yes, I'm saying that. In fact, I'm saying even worse. I think that he's far more loyal to Israel than the United States.
I don't think it's close.
No, it's not close. I'll give you an example. Ben Shapiro fancies himself a fiscal conservative, okay? He's always talking about the debt. He's always talking about the solvency or lack of solvency when it comes to our Social Security program. Have you heard him complain even once about the now multiple times the US government, the executive branch, circumvented Congress, went around Congress in order to send tens of billions of dollars to Israel for this war?
Well, that's weird. He's never once mentioned it, Anna.
He wants you to retire later in life because, oh, well, I mean, Social Security, we're spending too much money on it. It's not solvent. When it comes to us going into more debt to fight Israel's wars for them? Never any complaints from Ben Shapiro.
Did Ben Shapiro complain about the $300 billion we've given to Israel?
Never, not once.
Did he complain about the $31 billion we've given to them in the middle of the genocide?
Money well spent, according to Shapiro.
Has he complained about the $1 to $2 billion a day this war is costing us?
Against Iran? Nope, no.
So all of that money, by the way, we don't have. We borrow from China, Japan, and other countries. You and I are gonna have to pay interest on that for the rest of our lives so that Israel doesn't have to. So that Israel doesn't have to borrow the money and they don't have to pay it back and they don't have to pay the interest. Us sucker Americans are forced to pay that on behalf of Israel for the rest of our lives. But Ben Shapiro says, you don't get to retire at 65. Back to the mines.
Right.
Back to the assembly lines, you dirty Americans. And don't you dare question Israel, otherwise we'll have you arrested, deported, and denaturalized. I see who the new fascists are. It's not unclear at all. And this is exactly how a fascist talks. Did you see him talking about this dead school-age girls and boys? He said, now it's called collateral damage.
He's a piece of crap.
Okay.
Okay.
So now if you said, hey, you know what? Hamas, actually, a third of the people that they killed were military, and the rest, I guess, were collateral damage. He'd be like, how dare you, right? Those are human beings, Israelis, not like useless Americans or useless Palestinians that we just call, or Iranians that we call collateral damage, right? No, it's not collateral damage when Hamas does it, and it's also not collateral damage when Israel does it. I'm gonna say this for the millionth time. Israel has a worse civilian kill ratio than Hamas does.
Yep.
They're bigger terrorists than Hamas. They kill more civilians on purpose as a ratio. And then when you talk about the raw numbers, they've done 70 October 7ths, and it wasn't collateral damage. It was done on purpose. And look at that, they stole 53% of Gaza, and they're not leaving, just like we told you they were going to. And all of this paid for by you and me, by Americans. And then you know what he'll say about your pocketbook? Collateral damage. So listen, brother, the jury's in. No one thinks that you even care about America. We all know you're obsessed with serving beloved homeland Israel, okay? So self-deport, okay? Just move to Tel Aviv and be done with it. You're an utter fraud. No one believes you on the left or the right anymore, or the right. So enjoy the crash of your disgusting website and your network and all, oh no, culture wars. Americans hate each other. Die for us, pay for everything for us, and make sure you hate each other, because that's the culture wars are the only ways we can divide you.
Bingo.
And take advantage of you so that you serve Israel. Yeah. All right, debate next.
They failed us. And if you're not angry about that, Michael, and any of you out there, then you're damn wrong, because you should be angry. Young Turks.
It was genuine. He was mad.
Cenk Uygur, known online as one of the Young Turks, isn't afraid to throw some punches.
3, 2, 1, fade up.
Cenk the Turk Uygur.
What kind of TV station is this? The whole point is for me to yell and scream and tell you what I think.
It was right out of like Wayne's World.
This guy on this little rinky-dink website is speaking truth to power.
We've been averaging 600,000 views a day, beating most of the cable shows in America.
We're the largest online news show in the world.
We're celebrating our 1 billionth view. Television, we're coming.
More politics ahead with Cenk Uygur.
He knew that the MSNBC opportunity was an experiment.
And fill-in host beats CNN and headline news combined. At some point, they want to give me a show.
Every single year, that comes out of our paycheck. We put it in, and you're saying we were suckers.
When you, as a host, tells someone you're interviewing to shut up, that's going to raise a red flag.
That guy needed a tall glass of shut-up juice.
If President Obama's doing the wrong thing, I'm not going to tell you that he's doing the right thing so I can, quote, support him.
He says to me, "You won't believe the meeting that I just had."
The head of MSNBC talked to me.
And they want him off the air.
Cenk took an incredible risk.
We're supposed to challenge the government. That's the role of the media. The Democrats and the Republicans are here to screw you. And who on the air is saying it?
I wouldn't have done what he did.
That if I'm going to be a talk show host, I should be the biggest talk show host in the country. I don't think anyone else does it better. I don't think anyone's even close.
Before you know it, I'll be back on your TV doing a national show. I guarantee it.
Magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now, I know what you're thinking, Jerry, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago. When I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show, I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. This I did. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial. how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw. All hands. Pick up. Couple streaks. This is the guy we're putting on makeup. We got dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. They'll say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bissies.
All right, welcome to the Young Turks, TYT Network here. So we're gonna do something interesting. We're gonna do a candidate showcase here for you guys from Illinois 9. We're gonna have 3 of the major candidates. There's 13 candidates overall. We're gonna have a video from one of the candidates who couldn't attend. And then there's the other major candidate is Laura Fine, but she takes so much money from AIPAC, she was busy counting her money, so she couldn't make it to the debate. So now joining us are Kat Abughazaleh, Bushra Amiwala, and Mike Simmons. And helping me to do this is going to be Kara Eastman, who's our community director, and was also a Democratic candidate in the past. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. I love that you're all in this race. I think it's a fascinating race. And I'm looking forward to hearing slightly different points of view, right? So there are some differences, but obviously you guys are all on the left and in the Democratic race. Okay, so we're gonna hear from Daniel Biss in a video at the end of your intros. We're gonna basically allow him to do an intro through video, but he can't join us for the rest of it. But let's start out with 1 minute introductions, basically, for the audience to who you guys are. Kat, why don't you start us off?
All right, amazing. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Kat Abughazaleh. I'm a Palestinian American researcher and journalist who covers the far right. Part of why I decided to run was because everyone that I used to cover, Stephen Miller, Elon Musk, Tom Homan, they run our country now. These are the people I reported on and won against, and they know that, which is why I am under federal indictment currently for protesting against this administration. I want a Democratic Party that doesn't only take the threat of the far right seriously, but actually takes action and holds our own party accountable. And I got sick of waiting for someone to do it, so I decided to throw my hat in the ring. I also want to do politics differently. Our campaign uses our resources to not just reach voters, but materially improve their lives. Our office in Rogers Park at 7016 North Clark Street doubles as a mutual aid hub. Please bring by men's clothes, toothpaste, toothbrushes, or shampoo if you have time. And we are also funded by majority small dollar donations. When I launched my campaign, I asked a very simple question: what if we didn't suck? And I say, let's find out.
All right, thank you, Kat. Let's go to Mike.
Thank you so much. My name is Mike Simmons, and I served as a state senator on the far north side of Chicago. I'm born and raised in public housing right here in Lincoln Square in the 9th District that was built as a result of a 1976 Supreme Court public housing desegregation decision. My family was one of the first families to move into these apartments that were built to integrate neighborhoods right here in the 9th District. I'm also the son of an asylum seeker from Ethiopia, an African-American mom. I'm the first openly gay person to ever serve in the Illinois Senate. Shout out to that. And I'm proud to also be the first Ethiopian American to ever be elected to any office in Illinois. In the state Senate, I've been proud to speak truth to power, pass 50 pieces of legislation, and deliver for my constituents. I'm seen in the community. I'm accessible, approachable, and I think it's really important that we have that type of leadership in Congress right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Senator Simmons. All right, let's go to Bushra.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bushra Amiwala. I currently am elected on the Board of Education in Skokie, where I've been serving for the past 7 years. I quit my day job to run to represent my community in Congress. For me, my story starts with my parents. They immigrated to this country from Pakistan in pure immigrant fashion with a $20 bill and lots of dreams. Growing up, government was the hand up, not hand out, that my family and I needed to find our footing in this country. We grew up on SNAP, where the first of the month was when you get your snack of choice, and I needed FAFSA just to be able to afford to attend college. And every single one of those government programs are being stripped away from this current administration. And I'm proud to be a part of this district that is a white minority district and deserves a representative that has lived the problems they're hoping to solve and learn to solve them with teams. And I'm proud to have made history as the first person of my generation, Gen Z, ever elected to public office in our country. Thanks for having us today.
All right, thank you. And Cara, why don't you introduce Daniel's video for us?
Perfect. So Daniel is the mayor of Evanston and had a city council meeting that he couldn't get out of, and I kind of appreciate that. And so he sent in a video that we're gonna show you.
Hey, I'm Daniel Biss, mayor of Evanston, Illinois, candidate for Congress in the 9th District of Illinois. I'm really sorry I can't be with you tonight. I'm actually right now, as this is going on, presiding over a city council meeting in the city of Evanston. And so it's a immovable commitment if ever there was one. But listen, this primary is 8 days away and the stakes could not be higher. AIPAC has now come in. Their super PAC has spent over $5 million boosting another candidate and attacking me. I'm the Progressive Caucus endorsed candidate, endorsed by Elizabeth Warren, the AFL-CIO, environmental groups, the incumbent James Sikowski, and I'm asking for your help to make sure that we show the country that it's possible to stand up to AIPAC, to fight back, to tell the truth and win. Thank you so much.
All right, so that was Daniel. So Cara and I are gonna alternate asking questions, but we're also gonna get questions from the audience. And if we can, a little bit later in the debate, well, we'll have audience questions as well. we saw that, Kat, let me start with you again. We saw in that video from Daniel that he's proud to be fighting against the AIPAC money, and none of you take AIPAC money. So, Kat, how do we know who's going to be the best fighter among you guys for peace, for American citizens and not foreign governments, against corporate PACs, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I'd like to say of the three people on this panel, we haven't met with AIPAC either or submitted a position paper to AIPAC, which is something that Daniel Biss has. I also don't want to speak for Bushra or Mike, but I know that I don't support anti-BDS legislation at the federal level. Illinois was the first one to pass anti-BDS legislation, which Daniel Biss and Laura Fine helped push through. Additionally, I also believe all three of us are willing to say the word genocide. As far as humane foreign policy, I'm endorsed by Peace Action, the largest grassroots peace network in the world. When it comes to the issue of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, I mean, this is my life. This is what I have been protesting against and pushing for a better future since I was a child. My grandparents were Nakba survivors. My father was born stateless, and AIPAC just released its second attack ad about me, which was also not very well done. But they're scared and they know that, which is why even Laura Fine is willing to soften up her rhetoric against Israel's genocide just a little bit to make sure that it's still palatable for the people, because AIPAC knows it's unpopular. I'm very proud to be funded by majority small dollar donations. We don't take a cent of corporate PAC money, Republican funded PAC money, or billionaire money. In fact, we have over 60,000 donors, so we missed when a billionaire for some reason donated to our campaign. So we made sure to send that money to a food bank instead. We need to live by our actions rather than our words. And you can say a lot about pushing against lobbies and pushing against AIPAC and pushing against Democratic influence, but Daniel Biss can't answer simple questions about who he'd support as House Speaker, and was still willing to meet with AIPAC multiple times before he even ran for this office, which he ran for 2 weeks after winning his last one.
Bushra, same question to all of you guys. So how do we know who's going to be the biggest fighter for peace, and not just against foreign governments, but also against corporate PACs and all the things that affect our legislators?
It's exactly what all of us have a record of service for. I tell people it's almost easy in the moderate stance to acknowledge what's happening in Gaza as a genocide today. And I say, look at what people were doing a week after October 7th. I'm proud to have been one of the only elected officials to have signed on to a ceasefire letter a week after October 7th. And every year, annually, I host an event during the month of Ramadan, an iftar dinner, where the current Congresswoman, Jan Schakowsky, would be invited to speak every year. And we withheld the microphone from her at that event because she had not called for a ceasefire, and then she did at our annual Ramadan iftar. And there's no surprise that when she announced her retirement, she became a co-sponsor of the Block the Bombs Act, but it's simple. Follow the money. Rejecting corporate PAC money is not just a slogan to me. I was offered $56,500 worth of corporate PAC money when I was 19 years old, running for public office the very first time before it was trendy to decline that money. And that's where integrity is. Your record and integrity follows you every single step of the way. And I'm proud to be amongst candidates right now here where none of us are taking corporate PAC, special interest, or lobbyist money, because that really is the litmus test of our generation of candidates who are running for office today.
Okay, and Mike, how about you?
You know, I like to point to my roots. I'm somebody that comes from not just a working class household, but a household where there were nights where we went to bed hungry. There were times when I was a kid when we didn't have healthcare, and my mother passed away at the age of 55 because she didn't have healthcare, and could have still been with us if she had had the kind of healthcare that she deserved. And the reality is that the people that are taking away our healthcare are the very same people that are trying to buy this congressional seat. They're the people that are putting people like Donald Trump and Ted Cruz in office. They're the ones that are backing some of my opponents, frankly. And I take a real issue with that. As someone that was born and raised here, defying the odds, becoming a state senator representing 250,000 people, the first Black person to ever represent my Senate district, and the first major African-American candidate or Ethiopian-American candidate to run for this congressional seat. I'll be damned if I let AIPAC spend $5 million to buy this seat, because my people have struggled here. We've built business here and we've died here. And I will give everything I have in the next 8 days to make sure that people know my vision for our district, which is fighting for housing for all, fighting for Medicare for all, fighting for peace, using our foreign policy levers to end the genocide in Gaza. And I'm proud to be one of the only, I believe, 3 candidates in this race that is courageous enough to call the genocide what so many in this district, in fact, see, and to stop selling arms sales to Israel. People are ready for us to turn the chapter on this chapter in American history, and I'm proud to be leading it.
All right, Cara, to you.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask something from the members because I like this question. I think it's from Bowie Bear. Asking as a Zennial, what does your mind go to keep you fighting on the worst of days? Mike, we'll start with you.
I love to bike, and I've been known to get out there when it's 25 degrees and just bike for 40 or 50 miles and turn off my phone. It keeps me grounded. I love nature. I'm a photographer. I like to look at old photos that I've taken that inspire me, that remind me why I do what I do. And frankly, sometimes I just need to put down my phone. I like to take myself off social media because you can't see what's going on around you in the world you live in if you're always got your eyes down on the phone or on a screen. And that's really helped me, I think, to stay relatively balanced and to still keep fighting on in this race.
Awesome. All right, Pat.
So I'm a huge sci-fi nerd, and I was asked today, what do I want for the future? And I said solar punk. And that's really how I feel. We need a world where everyone can thrive and not just survive, where the government works so well that you can depend on it and you don't have to spend all of your time fighting for it to do the right thing. But the thing that keeps me going is something that I say almost every single day to folks, and that's that fascism is antithetical to the human condition. It will never last forever. It will always be toppled. But in the meantime, we have to make sure that the fewest number of people are harmed as we can. And that can be really hard and it can be really overwhelming. And frankly, I felt really alone and helpless before I started my campaign. And we really structured our campaign around direct action and tangible change in this moment, not till after election day. So whether that's our park cleanups, whether it's our mutual aid hub, whether it's knitting circles where we make hats for people that need them. Being around folks that feel the same way, that feel that helplessness, that don't want to doom scroll, but this entire system that exists to make us feel like we can't do anything has succeeded in that. To be able to take that burden and then be with others without our phones, I promise it helps. Like it is harder than ever to get out and be with others and do something that you love, or even to know what those things you love really are. But I encourage you, I promise things feel so much more hopeful and so much more impactful when you can do that.
Great, thank you. Bushra?
So the question is, on your worst days, what keeps you going? It's 2 things. One, seeing how far I've come is what really keeps me going. I think about my dad's story, and that's why I always start with that, because those are the shoulders I am standing on every single day, as whether it be the campaign trail or whatever the legacy of impact looks for me in this world. And what keeps me going is I remember running against a 16-year Democratic incumbent as a teenager, and it was unheard of for people in my generation to be running for office at that time. And we became the reason why we passed the All Faiths Act, which teaches the positive contributions of Muslim Americans, Hindu Americans, Buddhist Americans, Sikh Americans in American history. And that curriculum of Faith Week includes my contributions as an elected official, as a Muslim elected official. So it's really cool to see it surreal and come full circle like that. And then finally, my faith really does ground me. My faith teaches me that there are only 2 things I can control, and that is my intention and my effort. And my intention is to make a positive difference and impact in my community. And my effort is showing up and scarfing down a plate 3 minutes before a Zoom with some awesome people and running to an event immediately after this too. And the rest is out of my hands. And I think that's a really sobering moment that keeps me grounded as well.
All right, great. So next question is about something that you've really wanted to get done either in politics or in real life, and how you got it done. So Senator Simmons, let's start with you. It could be, again, politics or life, something that was a goal of yours and how you accomplished it.
You know, I love this question. So the first thing that comes to mind is the day that I first walked into the Illinois Senate, and I felt what anybody would feel that comes from an underrepresented background. Just a sense of no one quite like me with my point of view and my experiences. And my scars for my identity has ever been in this place with the position to actually do something about the things that you've survived. And I just remember feeling like my ancestors were with me. I thought about, on my African American side, Black people that were taken from West Africa and Central Africa and brought to the United States and forced to work for hundreds of years. I thought about the queer people in my lineage, and queer people are in all societies all over the world, all the way back to the beginnings of human history. And I thought about how proud they would be to see me walk into the floor of the Senate, and I let that be a North Star for how proud I was to be there as the first openly gay Black person to ever serve in the Illinois Senate, the first openly LGBTQ person to ever work, to ever set foot in the body and take the oath of office. And that's really, I think, been with me the whole 5 years I've served there. It's why I fight so hard. It's why even when it scares you to push back against the power structures that be, when it makes your voice shake, as I like to say, I find an energy to push ahead and to get things done. And that's how I've been able to pass 50 bills. That's how I've been able to be a force to be reckoned with in the state legislature. And somebody that I know is doing something that's much bigger than me. And I give that credit to my ancestors and the people that paid the price, a dear price for me, and people like me to even have a shot at making history like this.
All right, let's go to Bushra next.
So for me, I think about this saying that is, when you go to solve a personal problem, not a market problem, that's where the magic happens. And when I was running for the Board of Education, I don't have a constituent services office, but a lot of people came to me with problems that impacted their children. One of which that constantly came up was school lunches, and how the options for folks with alternative dietary needs and restrictions were rather limited. I mean, 2 slices of American bread with American cheese slapped in the middle is definitely not the most nutritious school lunch option. And particularly Muslim families would approach me with the idea of halal food. And as someone who grew up in Skokie, I was accustomed to explaining the definition of halal by saying it's like kosher, but for Muslims. And I didn't want to stop at just halal food. We included kosher food options and of course, vegetarian food options as well. And we mandated the inclusion of that in our public schools. And this actually became inspiration for a case study for the state of Illinois. And I had the pleasure and privilege of testifying in front of the Illinois General Assembly to showcase this act about how it increases food productivity, reduces food waste, and this law passed. And now every public institution in our state of Illinois, think schools, prisons, hospitals, mandate that they offer halal, kosher, and vegetarian food options for the people they serve.
All right, Kat?
Before running, I probably would have talked about the day Tucker Carlson was fired. I used to work at Media Matters. I covered Fox News, specifically Tucker Carlson. It was truly the best day of my life. And it was a culmination of a lot of things, a lot of legal issues that Fox had, and the constant drumbeat of a ton of researchers, not just myself, pushing against his misinformation. But honestly, I think what I would say now is the mutual aid efforts we have been pushing with our campaign. Every single day, it's like another one of these problems that are solved through this kind of novel approach to campaigning. So we are unorthodox in a lot of ways. We organize most of our volunteers through Discord. Our campaign office operates the third space for a lot of people. And just in the past few weeks, we've had a woman who needed baby formula that was a specific type that we didn't have. And we were able to coordinate our volunteers from across the country. Some people DoorDashed this to make sure that our constituent who lived just a few blocks over was able to get that and have it in our office. Same with diaper sizes, same with people who need mental health help. We've been coordinating with organizations on the ground across the 9th District, same for housing. And it's one of these things, just what I was talking about before, about those tangible benefits, that you really feel the impact as it's happening, and being able to provide that specific type of baby formula that mother wasn't able to get before her next paycheck. We knew that was going to feed a child. Same for a man who needed a sewing kit to mend his pants. We didn't have sewing kits, but we had embroidery kits that we made for our campaign because I love embroidery. And so we teach classes around the district and we were able to help him mend his pants. And these sound small, but it really keeps all of us going. And just a quick shout out to my staff for being so incredible and pushing this vision that a lot of people said was impractical.
Yeah. All right, now I want to remind the audience, we're gonna have links to all three of the campaigns down below if you're watching this later on one of the platforms. So make sure you check out their website, see what their policies are, so you get a full sense of it. And guys, you're doing pretty well so far, but let's try to keep the answers to a minute as to the best of our abilities. All right, Cara, you're up.
So I just want to read this question from Nerd Ferguson, one of our members. And it's more of a rhetorical, but ask them if two of them would be willing to relocate to different districts so we can get all three in the House and start building a true revolution. I love that. I love that so much. So if you have any idea how y'all are doing, people are loving this. So thank you. Okay, when I ran and won the primary, it was pretty challenging to unite the party. How will you do this? Bushra, we'll start with you.
The reason why Democrats lost in 2024 is because they were fighting this fight of, well, we're the lesser of two evils. Democrats have lost the plot where we are not giving people anything to vote for anymore, and it's just a vote against something. And that's really not how it works. I mean, we were the party of hope, optimism, and innovation is not just technology, it's doing things new and doing things differently. So we need to be the party that prioritizes Medicare for all, that every single person in this country should have access to healthcare. We should be the party that talks about the unemployment rate right now and protecting our jobs from AI. And we should be advocating for free college and tuition because our generation won't be able to purchase a home because we're drowning in student debt and the cost of housing is being purchased by developers and hedge funds. These might seem like radical ideas, but it's something that our party should be centered and grounded in, but we're too busy running to the middle and running to the right as opposed to listening to what everyday people want. It's not just Democrats versus Republicans anymore, it's bought versus unbought. And you unify people by being that unbought championing and talking about things that everyday folks care about, voters and people on the ground.
Thank you. Mike?
I don't know how to mince words on this. The Democratic Party is flailing. And at the core of the argument for my candidacy is that I'm willing to talk about how the Democratic Party does not meet the moment. The Democratic Party continues to fund mediocre candidates who've done nothing for their communities, don't understand their communities, and frankly, don't have any receipts to show for the work that they've done for us. I'm sick of seeing that. I'm sick of the status quo that comes from that. And it's hard to see people in my community who continue to struggle and who pay the price for mediocre leadership in the Democratic Party. I think it's time for us to have a reckoning with the Democratic Party. I think it's time to have a reckoning on the left. When we talk about issues around racial justice, when we talk about who even has access to the types of resources that it takes to run for office, we have to admit that there's a wall that's in place right now. And the media is complicit in that and the stories that they tell about who's viable and who's not. And so I'm a part of the wave of leaders who are running from my generation who refuse to bow down to Democratic leadership and are not afraid to offend those that have been in power for 20 and 30 years and cannot get Medicare for all accomplished, have not raised the minimum wage in 20 years, and are complicit in us dropping bombs in faraway places where no one asked us to intervene to begin with. And so that really is the energy that I come into this with as a so-called Democrat. And I would love for our party to get back to its New Deal principles that we once had. But frankly, I think that I'm much more interested in writing the next chapter of what it means to be a Democrat and leading with the issues and making sure that we address the failures of this party.
Thanks. Kat?
Yeah, I'd love to echo what the other two said. Frankly, I'm not interested in unity if unity requires compromising basic values. I feel like, especially when it comes to congressional Democratic leadership, progressives are expected to vent their concerns in private and then they're listened to, but there's no actual compromise, there's no actual progress, and it's just the act of being heard when they're not actually being heard is supposed to be enough, and it's not. No matter this doesn't even just apply to our race. When you are voting for someone, are you just voting for them to vote the right way on the floor, which is a luxury in the first place? Will they vote to raise the minimum wage, or will they also hold their colleagues in the Democratic Party accountable, the ones who won't vote for that? The 4 Democrats who voted against this war powers resolution in Iran should be excommunicated from the party. This shouldn't be controversial, and we can't just keep acting like this centrism moving to the right BS is normal. The most democratic thing as a party and as a country is to hold your own team accountable, and we don't do it enough.
All right, so I'm gonna halfway cheat and ask 1.5 questions. The one is probably a yes or no. If you want to give a little bit of nuance, we'll allow it, but it goes along with the conversation we were just having. Would you vote for Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker of the House if the Democrats win the House and you're in Congress? Bushra?
No.
Mike?
On day one, I'm having a conversation with whoever wants to lead the Democratic Party on how are you going to position me to move on Medicare for all? How are you going to position me to pass block the bombs? How are you going to position me to do something about the economy and tax billionaires? And whoever positions me to represent the 9th District to do those things will have my vote for Speaker.
Kat?
No.
Okay, so now I want to ask you guys the fuller question. So if you get into Congress, what is your #1 priority? Again, I'll start with Bushra first.
For me, it's the root cause that impacts every single working family in this community. That means anti-war is also an American value and true. It includes something like healthcare, it includes housing, it includes the cost of groceries, it includes the cost of education and the amount that people pay in property taxes. It's the cost of living, but it just can't be summed up in one word. And I know this affordability buzzword is one that we hear a lot. It's known as the adjective of this decade, but it's something that is lived by so many people left and right. That means banning price gouging that companies are doing with AI as the crux at it. It's banning fresh, clean drinking waters from cooling down our data centers. It's getting rid of a pharmaceutical benefit manager because you can walk and chew gum at the same time. So in the pursuit of these bold and ambitious goals, these are the things we must accomplish immediately in the short term. And then finally, it's something like overturning Citizens United and making sure that billionaires, oligarchs, and corporations pay their fair share in taxes, and we ban congressional stock trading. A lot of these things I've said might seem really progressive, but there is room to find bipartisan support in these values too.
Senator Simmons.
Can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, if you got into Congress and you guys have the majority, what would be your #1 priority?
Abolishing ICE and prosecuting the ICE thugs who participated in Operation Midway Bliss here in Chicagoland. Listen, I was born and raised here in the 9th District on the far north side and northwest suburbs of Chicago. We are a multicultural district. We are a very queer district. We are a working class district. We are a district full of immigrants. And Donald Trump intentionally picked our area to target for his fascist program that is nothing more than the jobs program for thugs, is what ICE is. And so in the first 10 days, I will bring forth legislation to abolish ICE. I will bring forward a budget piece of legislation to claw back the $170 billion that was swollen out of Medicaid and healthcare and education assistance programs to abolish that agency. And then I would ask for a seat on the House Oversight Committee so I could personally and aggressively bring oversight over the thugs who violated our communities and make sure that there's justice for my constituents. I read letters the other day from 9-year-olds at 2 elementary schools in my Senate district who wrote to me and were asking me what we can do to get rid of ICE so that their Black and brown classmates are not abducted. Shame on us that 9-year-olds are having to ask these kind of questions. I certainly didn't have that kind of trauma as a 9-year-old, and I owe it to those 9-year-olds to make sure that that agency is rooted out and that the people who led those raids on us pay the price.
Kat, your #1 priority.
I mean, it's summed up essentially installing this president's agenda wherever possible. We need the abolition and prosecution of ICE. We need to impeach, convict, and remove Donald Trump. And we also need to make sure that more disastrous Republican legislation is not passed through. I'm all for bipartisanship if we are not undermining basic human rights. I think that there is room to cooperate on AI regulation, on reversing Trump's disastrous tariffs, on limiting CBP's jurisdiction, especially as Republican states feel the impact of ICE on their communities. But Truly, over the next 2 years, we need to ensure that Trump, JD Vance, and the rest of this administration has the most difficult time possible passing their white nationalist agenda. And this means blocking votes. This means holding our party accountable. This means getting creative, thinking outside of the box, using our resources differently. We can't just end it at voting on the House floor. We have to, it is a moral and legal imperative that we stall this president's agenda in every way we can.
All right, Kara, you're up.
So you all know our friend John Fetterman. How do we know we're going to pull a Fetterman? We'll start with you, Mike.
That first of all, I don't have the privilege or the mediocrity that John Fetterman has to pull John Fetterman level shenanigans like he has. And so that's the proof pudding that I would offer, that I am going to be who I say I am right now, because I'm the exact same person I was when I took the oath of office in the Illinois Senate. Listen, I have everything that I've been able to do, I owe to the community that produced me, and everything I do is a reflection on them. And so I feel the righteous anger that so many in my community feel around the failures of American domestic policy that ensnares Black and brown lives, that erases LGBTQ people, and that co-opts and appropriates so many of our struggles and so many of the issues that we have been the ones that lift up time and time again in social movements throughout this country's recent history. And so that's why I'm running for Congress. I'm not going there. I'm not running because I want a promotion or I want to be a member of a club or I want to go have steak with lobbyists after hours. I'm going to reckon with the injustice that have been visited upon the communities that have raised me. And that is the thing that gives me the energy and the verve that I have. And I would say that John Fetterman, frankly, is irrelevant to the struggles that I'm leading and the issues that I would want to lead on in Congress.
Thanks. All right, Kat, how do we know you're not going to pull a Fetterman?
This is one of my favorite conspiracy theories to see in like Twitter replies. I actually grew up Republican, so I've already had my Fetterman phase. But second, I always tell people, don't listen to what I say, watch what I do. I've devoted my life to fighting extremism, to fighting conspiracy theories, to fighting the far right. I've been deposed by Elon Musk as at that time a 25-year-old with less than $10,000 in my bank account. And now I'm under federal indictment while running campaigns on hard mode, which is when you do it without any of that special interest, billionaire or corporate PAC money. What I do matters a lot more to me than anything else. I want to make sure that people know who I am based on my actions. And I will do anything to protect my community and will stay true to my values, even to my own detriment. And you know that because that's what I've been doing for my entire life.
Okay.
Thanks.
So I'm gonna do a lighter.
Wait, we have
Oh,
Bushra.
sorry.
He's like, she can't do it. She doesn't have the privilege to do something.
That was my
I mean, it does boil down to that, though. I mean, when you're advocating for something that is greater than yourself, that proof is in the pudding. The people that are rallying, the people that have never donated to a campaign or candidate before are the people who I am campaigning alongside. The folks who have never voted in an election before are registering to vote and looking up their early voting place because they knew me as a kid. And these are the types of things that just cannot be replicated. That means the accountability beyond the accountability I have for myself is so far and beyond that I owe to my community to never go behind my word. And I'm proud to have that proven track record of not only what I'm saying, but it's on my website, it's on my printed literature, it's on my social, and now almost a decade long of receipts on my social media since the genesis of me getting involved in the political space and sphere. And it would be oddly disrespectful to assume that any of us ever would, but good question.
All right, so I'm gonna lighten it up a little bit. I've got more serious questions, but let's have a little bit of fun here. Let's go, Mike, first. What's your favorite TV show these days?
Heated Rivalry.
Yes. I love Heated Rivalry so much.
Okay, you got somebody warming up to that answer. All right, that's good. Kat.
Well, I don't have a lot of time to watch TV. I don't think any of us do, but the Haikyuu English dub, which is a volleyball anime, is back online. It was taken off for like 2 years, so I've been rewatching it, and it's very cozy.
Bushra.
I also don't have time to watch TV, but I do eat up Love Island clips on TikTok and basically have watched all of it through 60-second short form content.
Okay, that was fun. I could have asked favorite online show, but then that could get us in trouble. Okay, so all right, Cara, back to you.
What's your go-to coffee or tea place in the district? So we'll let the audience know where you like to go. Bushra, we'll start with you.
Soul Good in Skokie. It was a rundown street in Skokie where it had no local businesses, and the owner of that coffee shop made it her mission to have a local business on that street. And my favorite order is an iced soul brew, which is a cold brew with half and half cinnamon and lots of white mocha syrup. And it was a seasonal item on the menu that I continued to order, and no one told me that it's not an actual menu item anymore. But Soul Good in Skokie, and it's also women and minority owned.
Nice. Kat?
So I drink exclusively tea. I'm Arab as hell, so I bring tea bags with me everywhere because I want to make sure it's always possible. But the Red Room Hookah Lounge right across the street has amazing mint tea. It tastes like my grandmother's. And then Senshin, which is not a coffee shop, it is an Asian place, but they have amazing jasmine tea, which is always my favorite.
All right, Mike?
Well, Cozy Coffee in the Westridge neighborhood is my favorite because it's so unpretentious and accessible for anybody in the neighborhood. It's Black owned, and whenever I go in there, I feel like I'm in my living room, and every type of tea always calms my nerves, and I usually have to push myself to leave.
I like how political all of your answers were. Like, I just named like a random bagel shop that I liked, but I like that you guys had good reasoning, right? Anyways, okay, all right, now back to serious questions. Mike, we'll start with you on this one. Look, we've had some shade of this question in different ways, but I want to make it very as real as I can. So if you win the race, what you're gonna find out, if you don't already know, is that most of your colleagues that are the Democratic Congress people are corrupt, and that's why we can't negotiate drug prices. So it's not just when Republicans are in charge, also when Democrats are in charge that we can't. They take an enormous amount of money from big pharma, and it's not their opinion that it's a good idea not to negotiate drug prices. They're paid to do that. So if you go to negotiate prices or Medicare for all or even the public option, most of your colleagues will oppose you while pretending to be on the other side. Now that's a very difficult question, right? It's not easy to say, well, okay, well, I'm gonna throw them all under a bus and still somehow pass the bill. But if you go along to get along, you can't get anything done either because nothing ever gets done. So Mike, how do you handle that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of these instances where we have to be straightforward that the campaign finance system is completely broken. And let's face it, a lot of these insurance companies and big pharma, they own the Congress. And I can't mince words on that because there are people there who are so afraid to piss them off that they have mastered the art of saying that they support things and doing absolutely nothing when the cameras are not rolling and when social media is not on to actually advance these priorities that would help people access prescription drugs at an affordable price, or that would help people be able to access healthcare writ large. And so I think the way I would deal with this is the same way I have in the state Senate, and I think that's to introduce the legislation and bring the creative protest. I can work with anybody, but there's certain things that I can't compromise or frankly suffer fools on, and one of them is healthcare. I know how high of a price families pay when we don't have good healthcare, good preventative care, good specialty care, and ultimately when they don't have the prescription drugs and the interventions that they need that can save their lives. And so, we need more members of Congress who will use the platform of a member of Congress to amplify this and to talk about these issues and talk about why nothing ever changes when it comes to big pharma. And that is the only way out of it. It's power on issues like this is always with the people. And so in Congress, I will use my organizer hat, standing with outside groups that care about access to healthcare and prescription drugs, to push a lot of my colleagues who frankly are in the bed with a lot of these big pharma companies and need to be put on blast.
Kat, how would you handle that dilemma that a lot of the folks in your caucus will not only be on the wrong side of an issue while pretending to be on the right side, but will greatly shame you if you try to out them?
Well, luckily I can't be ashamed when we're fighting for the right thing. First off, we are going to be using our resources every single day till November after March 17th to help progressives win across the country. That's what I want to do after I win, to make sure that we don't just win a majority back, but that a majority of that majority actually wants to do something. Second, being able to use your platform and understanding how narratives work is really important. Communication is my forte. It's what I did for a living. And that also means sometimes pointing out corruption, even on, once again, your own team, because these are people's lives, and your reelection bid, anyone's reelection bid, is not more important than your constituents' lives. Finally, what Mike said was absolutely right. We need to be reforming campaign finance, and we need a diversity of backgrounds, because it's difficult to legislate on issues that are abstract to you. And that's not just race, ethnicity, religion, gender, sexuality, but also diversity of class, diversity of profession. The average person in Congress is 58. The average American is 38. And when it comes to disability rights, something that is greatly impacted by Medicare, by the cost of prescription drugs, I believe only about 5% of Congress admits to openly having a disability. I am disabled myself. We need to make running for office more accessible to people of all professions, of all backgrounds, and of all conditions, because that's how we get actual comprehensive legislation that can help people right now.
Bush.
It's a moral issue for me to not choose to balance a budget on the backs of someone's healthcare, which we saw our own Illinois government do by stripping healthcare away from millions of people that were undocumented in our own state. As an example, we have a candidate in our race that chose to vote yes for that piece of legislation as well. And that thing needs to be called out. And if it means publicly shaming people for that, that's one thing. And then leverage comes from me refusing to vote for whoever the Speaker of the House is once elected to Congress until we demand a floor vote for something like Medicare for all. And then you get to see where every single person aligns. And now you have a record that you actually can turn to as a means of accountability, because that is where things are getting lost in translation right now, where people are benefiting from saying one thing to their constituents and then voting and acting another way in accordance to a different belief. And then finally, I will also echo what my colleagues have said on here too about campaign finance reform, because when someone is bought, it does not matter what negotiation tactic or idea or level of compromise you choose to come with. They will never be able to be swayed in that interest when they have an entirely different interest that has bought their seat in Congress for them.
Okay, thank you, Cara.
Okay, I have a couple of comments here because I'm loving these. Rachel says, these candidates are making me cry happy tears. Thanks for giving this old girl hope. And then Winston Smith says, these three candidates are better than 90% of the current Democratic members of Congress. Good job. All right, so this is a deep, very, very hard-hitting question from Eclectic in the chat. Deep dish or thin crust, Kat?
Okay, this is my thing, and I'm sorry, I'm not gonna answer this yes or no. Deep dish isn't pizza, and that's okay. It is a casserole, it's its own thing, and people try to compare them. It's like when you're like, are you a dog person or a cat person? Those aren't in opposition to each other, and I think it's dishonest for us to pretend that they are.
All right, now we have
I don't want to say I'm wrong.
Okay, we have evidence that Kat will call people out. All right.
Bushra, I think we asked you this before, but you go.
So deep dish for special occasions, thin crust every other time. I feel like that's the best Chicago way of summarizing it.
Nice. Mike?
Always thin crust. My mother and I, she used to order from Giordano's when I was a kid, and we would get a shrimp pizza. I'd get a little spinach on it, and we would sit there and we would eat. She'd eat half, I'd eat half. And we never did deep dish. So deep dishes wasn't a thing in my household growing up. I know that's gonna offend some voters out there, but I can't apologize for my roots and how I grew up. I'm sorry.
I think you're gonna be okay. All right, guys, we'll end on a fun question and a serious question. All right, last fun question. It's my favorite. The audience knows it's coming. Mike, what extracurricular activities did you know in high school? Sports, music, theater, anything?
Yeah, I ran track my first 3 years in high school. I did the 400. I was a sprinter, and still pretty fast, I'll say. And my coach tried to break me into being a middle distance runner. Biology didn't have it fit for me to be a middle distance runner. I got really bad shin splints. I hurt my legs. We didn't have healthcare when I was a sophomore and junior in high school, so my mom had to pull me out of track, which really broke my heart. I loved to run. I just felt like an overachiever when I was out there on the track field. And For a while, I didn't have any activities. And then one of my friends told me about speech and debate. I picked up speech and debate halfway to my junior year. And I got really good at it really quickly. And then my senior year, not to show up Bushra, but I was a national debate champion my senior year. I actually have not talked about that as a candidate, but I will just lay it out there now that it did happen. But it was not what I intended to do. I was started as a runner, and ultimately, I love to be running. I love to be moving, and that's why I bike so much.
And look at you, you're still running. So, all right, Bushra, apparently you almost got called out there. So what were your extracurricular activities? I didn't expect that someone would get called out on this question, but go ahead.
I know Mike flexed on me. It's okay, it happens. But so for me, debate was my sport, and I joined the debate team my sophomore year of high school. I knew how to run my mouth exclusively, and similar to Mike, I was a national debate champion at Harvard University. To this day, the only person from the state of Illinois for that championship. You know when they say you peak in high school, you don't stop talking about it?
No, shots fired.
No, I peaked. I also did mock trial, was the founder of the mock trial team, found out I hated law when doing that. And then I joined DECA, which is a competitive business club. And that's where my major in college came from, in business and consulting. And it was very fun. And I realized I have a competitive spirit.
All right, Kat.
So I was also a speech and debate kid, but very reluctantly, especially when I was in Arizona. There was like a lot of sexism in it, and it sucked. But I liked winning, so I was a state debate or state speech champion. Did public forum. I also founded our multi-UN club, which I found was a lot more fun. I've been doing that since like third grade. I was our school newspaper editor, which if any of y'all have seen Apex attack ad against me, you'll see a quote from my high school newspaper, very hard-hitting stuff. And I was also a Girl Scout for my entire youth, all the way through my senior year of high school. I love Girl Scouts. I think it's a great organization, and it's cookie season, so make sure to buy some.
Okay, you're forcing me into a hard-hitting follow-up question. What's your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
Thin Mints. And also I forgot one thing. I didn't do a lot of sports. I did crew when I was in Texas, but I had some friends in the tennis club, so I joined. I didn't play a single match. I just liked the outfits.
Okay, that's fair too. All right, so last one's a serious question. Kat, we'll start with you again. So if you could do one thing, not your top priority, we discussed that earlier, but one thing to fix the US government so that it represents the voters better, what would it be?
Campaign finance reform, publicly funded elections, ensuring that there's small dollar donor matching, that there is a cap on election spending. If we could overturn Citizens United, I'm lumping this all into one thing. Overturn Citizens United, that'd be great too. And also allowing working class candidates to be able to use their campaign funds to a certain point to pay for living expenses, because it's almost impossible to run for office if you are a working class candidate, especially if you're a parent, and even more so if you are a single parent. So that is really important to me. I think there are so many things that I care about, especially when it comes to universal basic income for stay-at-home parents, when it comes to education reform, healthcare, all of this stuff, vitally important. And I already talked about ICE, so this is my answer. We can fix so many more things if we have better people in Congress in the first place, and also applying it to state and local government, because a lot of these opportunities for running for office are volunteer. And so you have pretty much only rich people able to run for office at the state and local level. Mike and Bushra, you're braving it out here.
All right, Senator Simmons, let's go with you. What's the one thing you would do to fix the government to give it back to the American people?
You know, the campaign finance, I have to say it again. There's an old saying that money is the mother's milk of American politics. I hate that saying. I want to abolish that saying, because it does keep single moms out of Congress. It keeps immigrants out of Congress. It keeps LGBTQ people out of Congress. And it keeps people who really want to do something about the oppressive economy in our country that doesn't tax billionaires and some of these other issues. Start with who even gets to serve. And so part of my platform is that we need to have public financing, and there are ways that we can pilot that by doing small dollar matches, the way it's done in a lot of states currently. There ought to be a whole discussion around term limits. People are serving in Congress for too long. For the love of God, there are other things that I want to do with my life than just being an elected official. And I would expect that most other members of Congress have other things that they can do also, and other people that should serve in committees that deserve to have a voice. And so we need to shake up on campaign finance. Citizens United is the big beast, the big elephant in the room. No, corporations are not people and do not have a right to free speech. And I don't care how many lawyers they pay to say that and jam it down our throats. We're going to keep paying the price until we really talk about this and talk about the consequences and the inept, mediocre leadership that we have on both sides of the aisle as a result of a broken campaign finance system.
All right, great. Bushra.
So this really is a root cause issue, and that is campaign finance reform. So when Kat said it, I was like, I thought the same thing. Then Mike said, I said, I'm just gonna say it too, and I'll say the same thing in different words. So one, I mean, election finance reform starts with overturning Citizen United, which currently is unlimited amounts of undisclosed dark money in favor of candidates because they vote a single way. And it is the epitome of our bought elected officials who are extremely out of touch when it comes to American people. Second thing that I found come up on the campaign trail is that campaign contributions are not tax deductible. So especially for people that make $250,000 or less, your campaign contribution should be tax deductible. I think it's an inclusive way to invite more people to contribute to financially to political campaigns. And then public funded elections, 8-to-1 public financing. That's how we got Mayor Mamdani in New York in the first place. And that encompasses ranked choice voting as well. So it's just the entire electoral system is extremely inaccessible when it comes to people of color, people of working class families and backgrounds, and people who have never run for office once before. It's extremely confusing and hard to navigate.
Okay. All right, I want to thank all you guys for doing this. I really appreciate it, and I think and I hope that the audience has learned a lot from it. It's a really exciting, interesting race, and this has now happened in a couple of districts where we have an embarrassment of riches. Normally, back in the day, as in like 4 years ago, it was tough to find one progressive running in the race. Now we've got 3 or 4. So it's wonderful, and so everybody, like I said earlier, we're gonna have the links to their campaign websites down below if you're watching this later on one of the big platforms that we're on. So I want to thank Mike Simmons, Senator Simmons from Illinois, Bushra Amiwala, and Kat Abughazaleh, all running in Illinois 9. You guys, if you live in Illinois 9, congrats, you have some amazing choices. So go choose wisely, and hopefully we'll see one of you in the general election. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, so that's all we have for you tonight. We're gonna see you tomorrow, and of course, tomorrow after the show, Operation Joy. All right, we'll see you then.